The weekend sports kickoff is about to start. The opinions on the show are the opinions of the host and guest on WSK alone. These opinions do not represent KZLX, Northwest Missouri State University, or Bearcat Athletics. Enjoy the show. And welcome into the weekend sports kickoff. I'm Devin, Albertson, joined by Luke Sanders and Luke Peterson here for our final show of the semester as we're talking about the NFL draft. First round happened last night. A lot of interesting trades. Quarterbacks came off the board rather early with picks 1, 3, 7, and 10 coming off the boards. And, of course, Baker Mayfield going number 1 to the Cleveland Browns. Sam Darnold falling to 3 of the Jets. Josh Allen 7 to the Bills off a trade where they traded up. And Josh Rosen goes number 10 in Arizona, who also traded up to draft him. What do you guys think about this first round with the quarterbacks going off the board, 4 of them in the top 10?
I mean, I'm fine with the 4 going off. It's just that the order they went off kind of surprised me.
Yeah, I was always a Darnold guy going to Cleveland right until like Schefter broke it the day before. Like, hey, it's Mayfield. And that just kind of shocked me that they were going to go with Mayfield, the number 1 pick. I don't know if it's a good fit there with Mayfield. I'm interested to see what happens with him, though, there in Cleveland.
Yeah, I was, like, really against it at first, like, because Darnold's obviously, like, the guy that you take. It seems like it's an obvious choice. But, like, the more I think about it, the more it kind of makes sense. Like, Baker Mayfield, he's got the swag. You come into a locker room with a lot of young guys, a lot of guys that don't know how to win, and, like, just that confidence that he brings in. And I realize that there's some negative connotation with that confidence because of, like, the Kansas game and things like that. But, like, those guys just want a guy that they can surround themselves on and they'll give them confidence, and they really need that.
Yeah, definitely. If he's the guy that wowed him in interviews and stuff like that, and really came out as a guy who didn't care about going to Cleveland and have to deal with everything that they've had to deal with since 1999 with all their quarterbacks that they've played with, all 2,000 of them. Just Mayfield, he was the third best quarterback in this draft in my opinion, behind Darnold and Rosen, but I was, after a while, like, you know what, Dorsey has enough credentials in the draft that he knows what he's doing. So I think it's going to be a good pick there with Mayfield. And, of course, they paired Denzel Ward at 4 with him, the corner out of Ohio State, which I thought was weird when I first saw it. I thought Chubb would go off the board there. So Cleveland with 2 of the top 4 picks. Most analysts were not projecting Mayfield and Ward to go to Cleveland those first 2 picks.
Yeah, definitely not. The one good thing about Mayfield, too, is other than Lamar Jackson of these top quarterbacks, I think that he fits best with replacing Tyrod Taylor as well eventually because, you know, there'll be that more that similar that style because you have more of those pro styles with Darnold and with Rosen, and this time you got kind of that mixture of running with it too with Baker Mayfield. So
it definitely, you kind of talked there with Darnold falling to 3. I was surprised with the Giants there at 2 and Darnold on the board. They didn't go with Darnold. They went with Saquon Barkley instead. And the Jets are like, hey, we just moved up from 6 to 3 like a month and a half ago, and we still got the best quarterback in their draft in their eyes. So the Jets kind of fell into a Hail Mary there with Sam Darnold at 3 to them.
But maybe they really like what they got out of Davis Webb in New York. You know, Shermer's a good offensive mind, so he could like what he's already seen out of it, which now you pair Saquon Barkley with an aging but still productive Eli Manning, a healthy Odell, Sterling Shepard. That's a good offense if they can get it clicking.
Yeah, if Eli Manning can stay upright and can get the guys the ball, it could be a really good offense. I still question Eli. He's going to be 38 this fall. It's a lot to ask of a 38-year-old quarterback who's already inconsistent at times for me, but we'll see. Barkley's a really good talent. It's just taking a running back that high in the draft in this current NFL, I always kind of question mark unless you have the Dallas Cowboys offensive line, then he can rush for 1,600 yards, no doubt. So that's one thing there with Barkley at 2 for me.
I also kind of wonder if they think they're going to be bad again next year. Like, if you think you're going to be bad again next year, the quarterback talent at the top of the draft is plenty. Like, you got huge arms in Drew Lock and the guy from USC. Like, if you're going to be bad again and you can add Saquon to that with that other new young guy, like, you can take that opportunity, and I think they're going to be bad.
If Gettleman's not hiding the quarterbacks, like, why should I reach for a guy this year? I can do it all next year if we're going to be bad again. So
and they're probably going to be bad again.
Man, with speaking of Gettleman, though, this was a shocking thing for Dave Gettleman. With my girlfriend being a Panthers fan, I've seen a lot of their drafts last couple of years, and it's just like, all right, the Panthers need a lineman. And he's like, all right, I'm going to go draft, a defensive lineman. It's like, oh, okay. So I was surprised that Gettleman actually went with, like, the best available player, not just some random pick. So
that's definitely fair. And then Sam Darnold to 3 of the Jets. I follow a few people on Twitter who are Jets fans or follow the Jets, and they were really excited for the pick because they didn't think Sam Darnold would be available here. And I said last Friday, we did our final mock draft on the show, that I thought Mayfield was the pick here because I thought Darnold would go number 1, that they really like Mayfield. So I think they're happy they got Darnold. They don't think they thought Darnold would be there at 3. So I think the Jets got a nice pick there in Sam Darnold. I'm not sure. I hope he sits for a year there behind McCown, lets him kind of polish his skills a little bit there for a year, then starting. But it's the Jets, so we don't really know for sure what they're going to do there for a whole year.
Or Teddy.
I forgot. Teddy Bridgewater over there.
I like what they're doing with that because, because Darnold showed some inconsistencies in college, especially on the big stage. So you sit him for a while. You have whoever wins between Teddy and McCown, and then you either try to trade or just cut the other one because low risk with both on 1-year deals.
Yeah, definitely.
And then you have Darnold ready for the next year, and then if he's not, then you just sign him to another 1-year deal.
Also, who better to teach him not to turn the ball over than Teddy Two Gloves? Like, all he does is never turn the ball over and not make plays. So Sam Darnold's already got the playmaking aspect. He just needs Teddy to teach him how to not turn it over.
So kind of like KC last year with Mahomes, need to learn from Alex Smith not to turn the ball over, but still make the big plays.
Exactly.
So, yeah, definitely good thinking there for the Jets. And next quarterback taken was Josh Allen at 7. The Bills traded up with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Bills, they got the number 7 pick and a 7th rounder, while Tampa Bay got the 12th pick, which they used on Vita Vea, and 2 second-round picks this year, picks 53 and 56. So Buffalo using quite a bit collateral going up to 7 to take Josh Allen, the quarterback out of Wyoming, who I thought was maybe the 4th best quarterback in this draft, but I could see why Buffalo took him with the winter conditions up in upstate New York, and they needed a big, strong-arm quarterback. They took Josh Allen out of Wyoming there at 7.
Yeah, I don't know. This is just such a weird one. It's like because Allen was kind of like how going into this last college season, like with Tanner Lee, like all the analysts were hyping him up, and then he got on the field and he didn't produce. So I mean, we'll see. I think that if he can play consistently, that can be a good fit. It's just that I don't like his consistency.
I don't like the fit there either because he's probably going to play right away. Like, they have nobody.
They have
A.J. McCarron.
A.J. McCarron, baby. Bridge quarterback, 101.
A.J. McCarron is not good. So, like, he's probably going to play right away, as I just stated, because woo. But he looks 12. First statement. Like, the dude looks like he's 12 years old, except for the fact that he's, like, 6'5" and 240 pounds. But
yeah, he definitely has the biggest baby face out of all the quarterbacks drafted.
Yeah, and so, like, I don't know. He's super talented. So
everybody loves his arm strength. Everybody loves his arm strength and his prototypical size. But just his accuracy and his footwork really scares me with Josh Allen. And I've seen a couple of things. Like, I follow Dan Orlovsky on Twitter, and he breaks down quarterbacks. Much better at breaking down quarterbacks than actually playing quarterback for Orlovsky. But he was using film with Josh Allen. There was one play, I remember who they were playing, but there was a blitz off the left side, and the running back just leaked out of the backfield. It's an easy 10-yard gain just to hit the hot read, and Josh Allen just never read the blitz right or anything correctly, and he got sacked for like a 10-yard loss. And just things like that, I don't know how fast he can pick up on those things. And playing in Buffalo, I'm not sure how well they're going to be able to surround him.
The thing is that they still have Shady.
That's
and
fair.
So he will not like have to go against many like boxes that are not favorable to him as a thrower. So it'll hurt Shady because now they can put 8 people in the box and just hope they don't burn him. But like with that strong arm, someone goes deep. Like if you can hit people somewhat consistently, it'll open up the offense quite a bit.
And I did tweet out last night, Josh Allen has all the arm strength that Mahomes has without the accuracy and the accent.
Or the athleticism.
That's fair.
Yeah, besides the athleticism, the thing that kind of scares me is, who else had a big arm strength that was getting hyped up?
Jamarcus
Russell. And look how that happened. Part of that is because that was when the Raiders were a complete dumpster fire in terms of their drafting.
I missed that.
But the Bills kind of are that right now, too, so.
They're not great. They did make the playoffs last year.
So I don't even understand how that's a thing. They cut all their good people in their playoffs.
They started Nathan Peterman for a game, and they still somehow backed into the playoffs.
And they got in over the team that destroyed them for starting Peterman too. That's my favorite part.
That was weird. So Josh Allen, I did not like that. I knew why Buffalo took him. I just don't think he's gonna be very good. That's just I think he's gonna bust in the NFL.
I don't like Rosen there either, though. I don't think Rosen really succeeds there either. So.
That's fair. But Josh Rosen to Arizona with a trade up at 10. Yes, I love that one, and he has a big chip on his shoulder now for being the 4th quarterback off the board when he could be the best passer in the class.
Yeah, I like the Rosen. I like the Rosen deal because if Bradford stays healthy, then that's a huge if.
Big if.
Then that's a good quarterback to learn under because when he's healthy, he's a solid quarterback. It's just that he has only been healthy a handful of times his career.
Yeah, Bradford is extremely accurate. He's also very smart. It's just his body fails him.
Yeah,
time and time again.
So it's like if I'm Bradford, I'm fine with like if I can stay healthy, that's good. And and then if Rosen does have to come in and replace Bradford, he has a healthy David Johnson back. He has Fitzgerald. Like, he has a good team he's inheriting. Like, I think out of all the quarterbacks that were taken, he has the best team to inherit.
Best situation, yeah.
Yeah.
And he has Mike McCoy as offensive coordinator, who's worked. Philip Rivers had his best year under him. He made Tim Tebow into a playoff quarterback. That's impressive of itself. And he's worked with other quarterbacks who aren't as talented as Rosen and made them kind of their best years. So
yeah, the thing with Rosen too is, like, even if Bradford gets hurt and he has to play this year, like, he still has Bradford's mind
to help
him as he goes along. So, like, I think he's obviously in the best situation. Honestly, I like all of the fits, like, just from the outside. Like, all of the fits are decent. Yeah. But I think that's the best one.
Man, you kind of feel bad for Mike Glennon because for the second straight year, he goes to a team. This one he knew he needed the backup, but he goes to a team and then they trade up to draft a quarterback. And so it's like he's probably going to be
the odd man out.
Yeah, because they got a couple other small, other guys will probably have as their 3 that are 7th round and undrafted guys, and so.
Yeah, definitely a tough situation there for Mike Glennon. But what contract did he sign this offseason? I can't remember. It was a decent deal for a backup, I believe.
I mean, I don't feel bad for him. The dude made, what was it, $20 million in Chicago to be a backup?
Yeah, he got paid.
It was 3 years, $45 million in Chicago.
Yeah.
And then he got a 2-year deal with Arizona.
Yeah, so $8 million for a backup deal for Arizona. That's not bad.
No, and I imagine that he'll get either traded or cut there, too, before the
you never know. Guys get hurt in training camp. You can definitely trade him for a backup role.
Sam Bradford gets hurt in training camp, so.
That's definitely fair. Sam Bradford is consistently hurt. Which is kind of sad because he's actually a very talented guy and a very whenever he does play, like you saw last year when he played at the start of the year for Minnesota and he tore up the Saints defense. I mean, he was insanely accurate in that game, and then he got hurt. And it never came back for Sam Bradford. So I kind of feel for the guy. At the same point, it's been a pattern for him. So it's like, I don't know, like you just can't trust him anymore. So I like what Arizona did though to trade up, and they had to get in front of Miami at 11 to get Rosen because Miami was going to take Rosen in my opinion.
Yeah, I think so too. Just because same thing. Tannehill has shown progress. Not as much. I think that Bradford's better than Tannehill, but like Tannehill showed that too. And then Tannehill the last couple of years very injury prone.
You're talking Luke Sanders here is like the biggest Tannehill hater. So
I don't like him at all. I think he's the least. Like he literally reminds me of the guy that replaced him in Jay Cutler. Like he's got every single talent that you could ask for in a quarterback. He can just never put it all together.
So that's what Miami, they don't get a quarterback, but they do get Mika Fitzpatrick at 11, which is a nice consolation prize for them, falling all the way to 11. And the last quarterback taken in the first round, the last pick of the first round, Lamar Jackson to Baltimore. They traded up back into the first round to get him. They, of course, Baltimore got the number 32 pick and a fourth-round pick 132, and Philadelphia got second-round pick, number 52, a fourth-round pick, number 125, and next year's second-round pick from Baltimore in the trade. Baltimore trying to get the quarterback of the future behind Joe Flacco with Lamar Jackson out of Louisville. What do you guys think about them at the very end of the first round making some news?
About time. That offense for the last, ever since that Super Bowl, that offense has been one of the most boring offenses in the NFL, which is so crazy because they've had some good talent there.
Yeah, they have.
But that just is where players go to die. Like that's been, other than the few flashes that Steve Smith had, like that has not been a fun offense to watch.
Yeah, Mike Wallace went there and just disappeared, and
he's disappeared since he left Pittsburgh. Honestly,
that's fair, but it's even worse when you got the Baltimore and just other guys that just haven't been able to stretch the field. And part of that is Joe Flacco's inconsistency there at the quarterback position. So we'll see how long he holds on to his job with Lamar Jackson now in the quarterback room.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of Lamar Jackson. I know we've talked about this. He's just, to me, he's like Cam Newton but small. Like he's not very accurate. He's super athletic, and I just feel like if he runs around as much as he's going to, probably in the NFL, he's not going to have a super long career.
I don't mind him going to Baltimore because he can sit for a year or two and learn a little bit behind Flacco.
Oh, I agree. It's a good fit. Like
it's a good fit for him. You just don't believe long-term.
I don't believe long-term he's an answer for anybody. I think that this is the best chance that he had outside of going to New England to ever make a huge impact as a quarterback. I just don't see it ever happening.
And the other one that I thought was a definite possibility was at 14 when the Saints traded up, and I'm like, they give a lot of collateral to go up. They have to pick Lamar Jackson.
I think everyone was taking that, and then they took Davenport.
Yeah, that was really questionable there for the Saints because last year they were really high on Mahomes. You heard they were high on some other quarterbacks in this draft. Maybe they're going to get Lamar Jackson, and then they take Marcus Davenport.
Well, not only did they trade up, they also traded next year's first rounder away for a defensive end. It's like
at a UTSA. Like,
it's like he can be a great player, but like how many times do we see first rounders get traded away for like a non-quarterback?
It's not very likely. I mean, they traded up 13 spots to get him too, so it's really
and you knew Oakland was going to take him if he was there. That's one of the reasons that they had to trade up that high. And to get up 13 picks, you have to give up next year first. To me, I don't think it was worth it either. Like, I don't think that you should ever give up that many picks to take a defensive end. They just don't impact the game enough.
Yeah.
But like, if you're New Orleans, you can see that they're obviously in win now scenario.
Yes, they are.
Like, they're like, okay, we got 2 years left with Drew Brees. Like, we need a defense, and we need a defensive line for this defense to be really good.
Because up until last year, that defense was just Cameron Jordan, and then just bad, And so picking up him, they picked up Kurt Coleman in the free agency from the Panthers. They've drafted well the last couple of years, so this defense on paper looks like it can be a good one, and I think that it solidified them as the best team in the division again. So
yeah, they didn't want to do that whole regress to the mean thing this year. They wanted to make sure their defense stuck to that level, so they give Drew Brees actually a chance going forward there. So the quarterbacks taken in the first round: Mayfield at 1, Darnold at 3 of the Jets, Josh Allen 7 to the Bills, Josh Rosen 10 to the Cardinals, and Lamar Jackson 32 to Baltimore. Did you guys hear Josh Rosen's comment after the draft where he was a little ticked off about going number 10? He's going to make sure that people know they made 9 mistakes before him in the draft.
He was ticked off? That's not what I heard.
We can't see the words on FCC violation at this radio station, Luke. But yeah, he was not happy, and I kind of liked it. I listened to 610 Sports Radio this morning, and they were railing on it for some reason, like this guy is just entitled. And I'm like, I don't know, I'd be kind of mad too if I thought I was the best quarterback and I was the 4th one off the board. I'm like, I know he's still a top 10 pick, but you also look at your position, like, hey, they thought I was the 4th best guy in this group. He's like, I'm the best guy in this group. So I can see why he's was a little ticked off after the draft. And he speaks his mind, which I can appreciate. He's just going to be pretty blunt about it, and I'm okay with that.
Well, yeah, because, he's looked like the most pro-style ready without as much of the inconsistencies we saw out of Darnold and Allen, and it's like, while Mayfield had a good job of, not turning the ball over, yeah, Rosen is more, looked more of that pro-style, playing under Mora. He had that, he looked the most pro-ready without all the fallbacks like we saw with Darnold. So I was surprised, too, that he fell so much.
Yeah, and I know Greg Cosell does a nice job reviewing film both in the NFL and also did this year with some other prospect coming out. And he does a lot of stuff, just kind of no bias going in, like, hey, I'm just going to review the film, and that's about it. And he really liked Josh Rosen the best out of the quarterback. He thought he was the best thrower of the football in this bunch. So I really trust Greg Cosell and what he says. So I like Josh Rosen second in this group, so I was kind of surprised that he was the 4th guy off the board.
See, I think that Rosen is the best passer in the group, but, I don't think he has the personality to turn a franchise around. He's always been the top recruit, the top guy. It's really hard for those kind of people to really, go into the losing situation and deal with it. Baker Mayfield, he was a walk-on twice. He knows how to deal with stuff like that. He's been the low man on the totem pole. Sam Darnold, I don't know. That's the one that I don't know. I don't know if he's got that alpha mentality, but, they say he does from people that talk at USC, but, he doesn't really show it on TV ever. And then Josh Allen, I just don't trust him at all, so I'm not even counting him. So I don't know anything about the guy, honestly. He went to Wyoming, so it's really hard to judge anything outside of his arm talent because you can't really tell if he was an alpha by his play because who watched Wyoming play this year? Absolutely no. I watched him play one time. They played Iowa, and he had absolutely no chance to throw the football the entire game.
He looked awful in that Iowa game. They played Nebraska a couple years ago, too, and he looked decent.
He looked solid against Nebraska. I do remember that.
But he had a few mistakes, so Nate Gary made him look silly with a pretty bad interception. But
this is one that gave the ball back to him.
That was the celebration where he gave the ball back. That was the best celebration I've ever seen. It was terrible.
Flag
it was a
came out automatically.
unsportsmanlike thing, but it was awesome.
Yeah, and I know a couple people on Twitter with Iowa fans funny they didn't show any Iowa highlights from the Josh Allen thing, and they must have been watching ESPN because I was watching the Fox broadcast, and I'm like, they showed one. It was the Josh Jackson interception. He's like, oh, great. So maybe we'll see that later on. Josh Jackson was not off the board in the first round.
I was surprised by that one.
He's still available.
I see.
And we're going to get to those here in a little bit, who we think the team should target in the second round. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about guys besides the quarterbacks, which picks we like the best in that first round. We'll be back next here on the Weekend Sports Kickoff on KNW on KZLX FM. And And we are back on the weekend Sports Kickoff. Devin Albertson with Luke Peterson and Luke Sanders talking about the NFL draft. Last segment we talked about the quarterbacks and a couple other big trades that happened, but now we're going to talk about some of our favorite picks in the first round that are besides quarterback. I'll go first here. A guy that went number 8 to the Bears, Roquan Smith, linebacker out of Georgia. I really like that pick for the Bears defense. They needed a linebacker who's been dominant. They haven't had one really since Urlacher retired, so they've needed some help on the defensive end. And Roquan Smith falling to 8 was a really big pickup for the Bears there. Needed some linebacker help, so he's one of my guys that I really like there in that first round.
I really liked Roquan Smith. The Bears, they're one I'm buying into the hype. I think the Bears, I think they're got a ways to go, but I think that they have a chance that if Green Bay doesn't get the pieces together, besides obviously quarterback, I think the Bears can surprise a lot of people, win around 7-8 games, maybe 9, sneak in the playoffs. But
new system there with the coaching staff and Trubisky in the second year. Hopefully he takes the leap there, and the Bears could be dangerous in that division. It is really tough
receivers.
The problem is you got to play Detroit twice, you got to play Green Bay and Minnesota twice. Like that's 6 games that are probably not very winnable for the Bears.
It's brutal.
Well, luckily, if their offense can click, the Packers' defense is still a pile of poop, so they'll be able to do that.
That's true, but Aaron Rodgers can put up 30 on anybody.
Yeah.
So.
But they can win a shootout. We'll see, though. I'm cautiously buying into them. I really like what they're doing right now. I think they can make a big jump from those 5 wins to like 7, 8, 9.
Yeah, I really like their defense. I just don't trust Trubisky. I've never liked him.
I do like Matt Nagy working with him, though. That could be interesting. They're the former OC of the Chiefs.
Yeah, but I just don't think he's super talented. Like, I don't see it.
That's fair.
So
I mean, I thought he was the 3rd best quarterback in last year's draft, and he was first quarterback taken. So.
Oh, man, that was so funny. That was on my time up today. I was at a sports bar grabbing food, and I was, like, making fun of some Bear fans. I was like, why are you trading up 1 pick?
Give up a lot to do it, too.
Just to get the same guy that, like, the Niners aren't going to take.
Yeah, that was interesting last year with Trubisky going number 2 to the Bears.
I think Lynn fooled them. I think that they thought that somebody else was going to trade up.
Yeah, they forced their hand there. What some other picks you guys liked besides Roquan Smith in that first round? How about you, Peterson?
I think I would have to go with Vita Vea going to Tampa. They traded down and they still got a very solid defensive lineman. Obviously Bradley Chubb got a lot of the big hype, but I liked Vita Vea a lot too. I think that especially with Gerald McCoy as well, like he needed some help on that defense. They still need a lot of help besides defense line and linebacker, but that'll help make that defense that was really bad last year a little better.
Yeah, they need some help in the secondary, but hey, if they need a backup running back too, they did play running back in high school, so they need a guy that could dual purpose there a little bit with Vita Vea. What about you, Luke?
My favorite pick was probably Derwin James for value-wise. Like I thought I had him going at 7 in my original mock draft to
17 to the Chargers.
To the Bucks. Like I think he was honestly one of the best talents in the draft. Like I would have probably rated him like the 3rd most talented guy in the draft, so for them to get him at 17 was absolutely insane to me. He can play at any level in your defense, like obviously not D-line, but you can move him up to linebacker, you can play him deep, you can play him straight on the line. Like he is insanely talented, insanely athletic. He reminds me a lot of Eric Berry. Like that's a big comparison right off the bat, but like that's his pro comparison, like that's his ceiling. And so
he was the 7th overall pick, like overall prospect, or on ESPN he went 17. So
he got comparisons to Cam Chancellor too, because how big he is too. So I mean that's a good. Get Eric Berry, Cam Chancellor, if you compare to both of those.
You get a thumper there at your safety position who can also cover. Yeah. That's a really big addition there for the Chargers. Great pickup.
And they've been kind of struggling. They've had some decent safeties, but they've been struggling at safety since they let Weddle walk, So actually having a top-tier guy again, that can be something that can be really good for them.
One thing I also liked was 6 with the Colts taking Quentin Nelson, the guard out of Notre Dame. They need somebody to protect Andrew Luck when he gets healthy and actually on the field so he doesn't get hurt again, because he's been absolutely brutalized in Indianapolis. And Nelson's pretty much a guy who's not going to bust most likely. He's one of the safest picks in this year's draft, and the Colts need O-line help, whether it's to protect Luck or jumpstart the offensive line in the running game.
Honestly, the Colts just need help everywhere that's not quarterback.
And he's a mauler. He's really good. Like, he's insanely solid there. I know he's a guard, so it's a little early for a guard in the draft, but someone his talent, it's hard to pass up on Quentin Nelson like that.
And we're starting to see the guards become a little more important, too, in terms of, like, the pay scale, that they're starting to close the gap on the tackles.
Especially when you got D-tackles like Vita Vea coming in, who are really fast inside. You have to have good guards to block them so you don't have pressure in your quarterback's face. Is kind of important there. So definitely a good pickup there for the Colts.
Yeah, speaking of offensive line, too, I think it was really interesting. The 49ers 49ers took Mike McGlinchey at tackle at number 9.
Yep.
And as far as value goes, like, that's not really a great pick. Like, he's not rated that high. But it just shows that, like, John Lynch is on a 6-year deal. Like, he has all
Yeah, he does.
he has all the security in the world. Like, you can take what you need when you don't have the pressure of that. Like, they didn't have to jump and take somebody like Minka Fitzpatrick. When their defense is not really what needs the help, they have to get an offensive line to protect Garoppolo because they just paid him literally all the money they have in their bank account. So, like, I liked the pick, even though it wasn't great value. Like, I like when teams take need.
It's a good
over
pick,
value.
but not a good pick at 9.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's definitely one of the things. They probably wanted to trade out, just didn't get the deal they wanted. And he was the 13th best prospect on the board, so it's not really not that much of a reach, but it kind of was when you had Fitzpatrick and Derwin James still on the board. So these guys are really talented, but I like they went and protected their Jimmy G, and they also just traded their tackle to New England today.
Yeah.
So that's another thing. They probably was a step move, like, hey, we draft a tackle, we can trade our other one and get picks back to get guys later in the draft.
And also, he was like the best tackle. Like, he's the
Yes.
highest rated tackle, so it's not like they reached as far as that position goes.
Yeah, we had some good linemen going too. I liked Detroit and Cincinnati back to back going with centers, and both. Some of the analysts I was reading, like they had is it Ragnow?
Ragnow, whatever his name is.
They had Ragnow's grade, and it's like plug and play, he'll be good. And then it was for Billy Price, the exact same thing as Ragnow, just now in Cincinnati. Plug and play, he'll be a good guy down in the trenches. A couple other guys I also really liked. I think DJ Moore to Carolina can be a good one. He, I know even during the NFL Network broadcast, Steve Smith was like, he's the closest thing to me.
He loved him.
And that's something that team has needed on offense for a while is at receiver. They've needed someone that can be like that spark that Steve Smith had.
And Cam Newton, I think, works better with speed receivers who can get more separation than, say, a big guy who goes up and tries to fight for a ball. I think it will help him maybe find some receivers easier because he did a better job with Steve Smith than he did with the Kelvin Benjamin or something like that. I think he does a little better with some of those guys. Even Taking Jr. had a good year.
That's also because Steve Smith is also just better than Kelvin Benjamin and Devin Funchess combined.
That's fair. That's definitely fair. But even like Taking Jr. had a lot of drops, but he was also open all the time.
Yeah, because he was one of the fastest guys in the league.
Exactly. So you got like DJ Moore who's also a decent route runner, pretty fast. I mean, that's going to be a good pickup, I think, there for Carolina. And you also have, of course, McCaffrey out of last year's draft and Curtis Samuel, little scat back / slot receiver.
They re-signed Greg Olsen too, so they're looking good again too. So we'll see if they can come together. Cam's inconsistencies, have happened, and the Panthers also have never had back-to-back winning seasons, and they had a winning season last year, but. With DJ Moore, that could be the thing that turns it around. Another one I also liked was Mike Hughes going to the Vikings. They need offensive line help too, obviously, but you can never have too much depth at cornerback. And also, Trey Waynes and Mackenzie Alexander both have played serviceable, but
Waynes' fifth-year option hasn't been taken yet by the Vikings either, and you kind of need a guy who can play opposite Xavier Rhodes.
And Xavier Rhodes, he's so physical, every once in a while he does get hurt for a series or two, so that way too you also have some depth to put some guys in.
I'm going to go back to your two centers. I wrote some notes down for them. The Lions just need to solidify their offensive line and get someone who can jumpstart their running game a little bit, too. Their running game has been non-existent since Stafford's really been there. So if they can get something started there, might be able to balance their offense a little bit. And with the Bengals, another good center off the board. I just can't disagree with taking O-line in the first round because it's a good investment. I mean, you need guys to protect up front. And if you win the line of scrimmage, you're going to win a lot of games in the NFL. So I think solidifying the middle of your line there, I think was two good picks for the Lions and the Bengals there in the middle of the first round.
Unfortunately, they still have Andy Dalton under that center, so it probably won't go so great, but
Give him a little more time to find A.J. Green, maybe.
Yeah, that's about the only thing he can do. And that's not very difficult. Like, you could probably put
it's not a bad plan,
You could put me back there, and I'm like, okay, A.J. Green's probably not going to be open, but I'm probably going to throw it to him anyways, and he might catch it. So another thing with the Carolina, with the DJ Moore thing, I think it just gives one more season for Cam to not have any excuses now. Like, he's got so many weapons. If he can't put it together this year, like with McCaffrey, Olsen, Moore, all those guys, like, if you can't figure it out this year, I think that they need to, like, it's really crazy to say, but I think they need to move on. Like, they need to
have Devin Funchess. I mean, they have so many guys who are talented there on the outside. They need to do well on offense this year.
And we'll see how much of that, too, was on Mike Shula and his awful play calling.
It's fair.
So, because, they got Norv Turner in now who helped make Troy Aikman a Hall of Famer. He helped make Teddy Bridgewater a decent starter for his time in Minnesota. So, yeah, we'll see. The pieces are there. It just we'll see.
Pretty much we'll see there with Cam
The thing
Newton.
is, though, it doesn't, like, with Cam, it wasn't that their offense was necessarily like in bad situations last year. It's just like you can't miss guys the way he missed guys. Like you're running a screen to McCaffrey and he overthrows him by 10 yards. It's like, but then he throws a 60-yard bomb just on the money, and I don't understand
just the inconsistency a little bit.
It's just crazy, but if he can just get that figured out, like honestly, he's so talented.
Yeah. I mean, you can't teach that size and athleticism. You just can't teach it. So if you just get that little thing figured out, he could definitely explode this year. And Carolina could be dangerous in that division. It's already really good. A couple guys I want to talk about, the linebackers that went in the first round at 16 and 22. With Tremaine Edmonds to Buffalo, they traded back up to get him. And then Rashaan Evans to Tennessee at 22. They traded up to get him as well. I thought those were two really good additions to those defenses, especially Evans at 22 to Tennessee. I really like that they went up and got him at 22.
Especially with Mike Vrabel being that defensive-minded coach.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that can be a good pickup. That offense has pieces to be a decent one, and that defense needed some help. So,
and I like the Tennessee trade as well because all they did was swap first-round picks to a 22 to 25, and then all they did was swap fifth and sixth-round picks. So, fourth and sixth. They moved back a couple rounds in the draft. It really wasn't that big of a trade there for Tennessee to move up 3 spots to get an impact linebacker. So that's what I liked. And they had to get in front of New England to get that linebacker because New England definitely wanted someone to.
And New England doesn't get the linebacker.
Exactly.
It's always good when New England. And then the Ravens took that pick and took Hayden Hurst, which is one of the very questionable picks of the first round, I would say.
Can we do questionable picks? I'm ready for that.
We're going to do that next. We'll do that in the next segment. So We'll see that. There's one more guy I want to talk about. It's we kind of talked about a little bit in the quarterback section, but Mika Fitzpatrick to 11 at Miami was an absolute steal for the Dolphins. They just need talent there on defense, and I think they probably wanted Rosen, but nice consolation prize for them there. So I think we're going to go to break. When we come back.
Hold on. I have one more, though.
One more?
I liked the Leighton Van Den Esch to the Cowboys. I thought it was a little bit of a reach for as far as talent goes, but like they're bringing in a new system. Like they're going to run their Tampa 2 probably still, but they're bringing in the guy from Seattle who also runs cover 3. And in either of those defenses, one thing you really need is athleticism and length in the middle, and he brings both of those things. Like I didn't want to see him take Calvin Ridley because they don't need a receiver as bad as they need defense.
I'm glad you said that because that was one thing I'm like, I don't know, I'll probably would have chose Evans over Van Der Esch for them.
Well, I wouldn't have just because of the defenses they run.
Definitely fair,
Evans
but I like they
3-4.
went defense instead of receiver. Yeah. I like that because I think you can find a decent receiver in the second round, but not as good a linebacker in the second round as you could.
And also, Sean Lee has very big injury concerns as well because he
and
also is
32.
one of the most inconsistent linebackers as well.
Yeah, I just thought it was a better system fit with Van Den Esch, and that's why they went with him over Evans. But Evans is way more talented than Van Den Esch, and like that's obvious. It jumps off on film, but like just with system, sometimes that's the way it goes.
Van Der Esch, that Castle, same thing at this point.
Basically. Yeah. Also, going back real fast to the Fitzpatrick thing, I can't wait till he gets traded in a couple years away because right after he has a phenomenal year because that's the Dolphins and that's their thing they do now.
So it's fair play. It's like we're going to take the guy in the first round, and then 2 years we'll trade him for a third-round pick.
Every player that helped him get to the playoffs in 2016 is no longer like the key contributors. J.J., Jarvis Landry, Sue, they're all gone.
Yeah, and one more thing. Sony Michel to New England at 31 is just scary because he's a really talented running back, and that's just what New England needs, another threat.
And they got a line. Like, New England did well again. Like, it's just stupid.
It's the Patriots in Patriot things.
Wynn does not have prototypical, like, size or measurables, but he goes to New England, and they just kind of do magical things with linemen to make them much better. So
and he was really good at Georgia, too. And, he went against SEC defensive linemen.
I think people project him as a guard at the next level, but New England leaves him a tackle, and he'll be all-pro and then be great. It's great.
I honestly think that New England taking him is what caused Minnesota to take Hughes too. I think if he would have been there, Minnesota was going to take Evans. Would take Wynn. So, but yeah, New England with their offensive line coach, whose name is slipping my head. He's
really good.
He's been there forever, and I would put him and Bill Callahan up there as like two of the best offensive line coaches in the NFL.
Yeah.
And unlike what we saw on Twitter a few weeks ago, like you actually pick talent so your coaches can coach them up instead of just like, what was that tweet that we saw?
Oh yeah, this guy tweeted. He's like, I don't know why anyone would take Quinn Nelson in the top 10 because if you have a good offensive line coach, you can coach up any offensive line player and make them good. And I was like, you do realize that every single position has coaches, so why do you ever draft talent? Just draft somebody in the 3rd or 4th round, and they'll all be good if you have a good coach. Like, talent still matters. It's stupid. It's the worst argument I've ever heard.
Yeah, it's like no
Here it
matter.
is. I found it. It says John Middlecoff tweeted out. He talked to a guy in the league today, and he agreed. If you have a legit O-line coach, why would you take Nelson high? You pay that guy 7 figures a coach, mid-round guys. Take position player at a premium position. And Luke's like, you realize that all positions have coaches, right? The upside-down smiley face, which is really good, by the way. A good retort. I like Middlecoff, but I think he was a little crazy with that one because my thing is if you get a guy like Nelson or someone who's really talented, it's one less guy for you to have to coach up, and you can focus your attention on the other guys and make them better.
Yeah, because some of those times, it just you can
Especially
coach
with
up
his level of
guys.
talent.
Yeah.
But some guys, it's just like their talent is that much better. It's like you can coach up players, but like LeBron is just that much better in the NBA than everyone else. And
It's
so,
crazy what happens on the Chiefs line when you put Mitchell Schwartz at the right tackle, how much better the right guard is.
Exactly.
It's amazing when you have that talent next to him. It helps out a lot.
It's like the Celtics and the Bucks right now. The Bucks don't have good coaching, but they
They
have
have
Giannis.
Giannis. Yeah.
So it's like you just see it. He's just better than everybody else on the Celtics.
Yeah. We'll take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the picks that we did not like in the first round, and I'm sure Luke will have pretty strong opinions on this one. So we'll have a break. When we come back, the guys we did not like in the first round of the NFL Draft here on the Weekend Sports Kickoff. And welcome back into the Weekend Sports Kickoff. Devin Albertson, Luke Peterson, and Luke Sanders here on the show. The final show of the semester, and our final shows ever. Luke's first and last appearance.
First and last.
Both of you guys' first and last appearance on WSK.
But
As we also do a little bit of Friday take here. We didn't do our morning show because we're going to do 3 hours of radio in the afternoon, and we didn't want to do that much work. So
you don't want to listen to me for that long, so it's okay.
No, and getting up at 9 o'clock on this day during finals week, it just wasn't going to happen. So we decided to come
Literally
in.
anybody, not just us. Like no one would have
Yeah.
listened to the show.
No one was going to be here for that. So we're going to talk about now in our segment. We've already went through the quarterbacks, some of the trades in the first round, who we liked in the first round, and now two guys that we did not like as much where they went in the first round. Luke, I think you have a pretty good Sanders here with this first opinion, a guy who's probably really talented, but you don't like that he went to a certain place. I think you kind of know where I'm going with this.
Yeah, I think that one of the worst picks for their like I said, I value need over like just straight talent. So like Denver taking Bradley Chubb, anybody else takes him at 5, I'm probably okay with it. Denver has Quentin Nelson available. They have a trash offensive line. They could have taken 2 quarterbacks. It was said that they like Josh Allen. So like if you like the quarterback, you take the quarterback there, or you trade out. Like, you don't need another defensive lineman, Denver.
They're going to win every game 6-3.
That's their only hope. That's their only hope. Like, unless you're telling me that Case Keenum's going to be the new guy that he's never been, especially without an offensive line, because their offensive line is really bad.
And he's only, 6 foot, 6'1". He's not a very big guy.
Not big, not athletic. Like, unless you're telling me that Paxton Lynch is going to come in and all of a sudden he's going to be the stud. Because
We've seen that
He's
story.
an athlete. Yeah, I mean, like, he threw for 100 yards that one game, so that's pretty good. But
I mean,
I just don't
yeah.
understand how John Elway could be such a great player. It just shows that players are not always the best GMs.
And I think Chubb could be a really good player. It's just they don't need another pass. They have I know it's hard to say, but you have Von Miller, Shane Ray. They had a good D line. Like you don't need another guy.
Yeah, Von Miller and Shane Ray are both NFL starter caliber players.
And Von Miller might be the best passer in the league.
Yeah.
And you don't really need Bradley Chubb to add on. I know Chubb's really good. He's going to be a really good player for Denver. But they just need so many other helps in so many positions because they just can't offense.
Yeah, they literally do not know how to play offense, and you're taking Bradley Chubb. But it's cool. Like, I'm happy about it because it's Denver, and you're just going to be bad for another 3 or 4 years. Because
Just keep Mahomes healthy for 2 games. That's all you need. Like,
Yeah.
The one counterpoint I'll say to that, though, is a big reason they did win the Super Bowl was from having 2 solid D-lines with
Ware and Miller.
With Ware and Miller. So, and they did that with also no offense. Sure, they had Peyton Manning for a chunk of that season, but they also had Brock with Brock Osweiler as well. And
He was really good.
My counterpoint to that, though, would be that Peyton Manning on offense put him in the best case scenario. Even though he couldn't throw the ball as well as he needed to,
he still was smarter
he
than he
called
could.
the best play on every single play. And Case
Like,
Keenum
we will run left
not
instead of
that
right
guy.
here.
Yeah, like Peyton Manning never really put them in bad scenarios. Brock did, and you saw how that kind of hurt them, and that's why even though Brock was winning games, they're like, hey, this guy could totally rob us of playoff wins, so we're going to put Peyton back in there even though he can't throw a football anymore. Like,
Yeah, I was gonna be building it for Brock Osweiler. Like you got bench for a guy who can't throw anymore.
and also their safety's not, or their secondary is not great anymore. So like, not only do they only have the defensive line that they don't need any help at all, and that's where they took it. They need help at offensive line. They need help at quarterback. They need help at receiver, really, because they don't have a whole lot of those outside of Demaryius Thomas, and they need secondary. Like, you literally need every other position on the field except for defensive end, Denver.
Yeah, and there was no real receiver to pick in the top 5.
Well, no, but
like there was plenty of defensive backs. There were 2 quarterbacks still available there, and there's rumored to like Josh Allen, which I was hoping they would take, because I think he's gonna be an absolute disaster. So I was hoping Denver would do that, but they went with Bradley Chubb. So that's kind of what happened there.
Well, like even that, like Josh Allen has the potential to be good, and like
that's fair.
So like I'm happy they took Bradley Chubb. Like, he has no chance of helping them win now. They're still bad on offense.
What about you, Peterson? Which guys did you think was not a very good pick in the first round?
One of the ones I would have to say is Taven Bryan from Florida going to the Jaguars, defensive tackle. I mean, one, the Jags have arguably one of the best defensive lines in the NFL already. 2, he didn't really do a whole lot in Florida. Like, he had some decent production, but like he was kind of a flash in the pan type of thing, kind of like what Trubisky did. Like, he had not a whole lot to go off of, and now he's going there. The one good thing about it is he is going to arguably one of the best defensive lines, so he doesn't have to play it right away. But
pressure's not on him to contribute. And hello, Ryan Elliott.
Hello, Devin Albertson. I got to work in 15 minutes, but I thought I'd come in and say hello for a minute, see what's going on.
What do you think of the first round of the NFL draft? Guys you liked?
Surprising. I didn't expect, we heard all the things from Adam Schefter about the Browns and Baker Mayfield. I didn't expect it to actually happen. Turned out it did. Threw me off a little bit. And then I think what followed was kind of what seemed to be the rest of the NFL going, hold on, wait a minute, what? Good pick from New York and Barkley. Good pick from New York, the other New York, in Darnold. I was confused at 4.
Denzel Ward.
I kind of get the pick of Denzel Ward just because they're in a very wide receiver heavy division. You got to worry about there was money involved. Because you'd probably end up having to pay Bradley Chubb more than you would Denzel Ward by the time it's over, just depending on how well it works out. But I find it interesting passing up on a guy that could be an elite pass rusher in Bradley Chubb to go after Denzel Ward, who, while he could be a very good cornerback, isn't going to change the game the way that Bradley Chubb might. I think, they played it a little bit safer with Denzel Ward than they did trying to get Bradley Chubb and then saying, okay, 3 years down the road, we're going to have to worry about paying him, Mayfield, Myles Garrett, all these guys. So, I get it, but at the same time, passing up Bradley Chubb's kind of confusing to me.
Yeah, I had him taking Darnold and Chubb, and they went Mayfield and Ward, so I was completely wrong. Per usual, I guess, with some of my predictions. But Luke, do you have any other guys that you didn't like in the first round besides Bradley Chubb?
I didn't really like the D tackle for Washington. It's kind of just the thing, like,
De'Aaron Payne.
Like, he's a really good D tackle, but at the same point, like, you have a lot of holes to fill.
They did have last year's the worst run defense in the NFL, and he's a good run stopper.
Yeah, because they only have Ryan Kerrigan and Josh Norman, and the rest of that defense is really bad. And the 2 best players they had beside him, Fuller and Will Compton, are both now a new team. So, that can be.
I like the fit there with him.
I just don't like the value of taking a D tackle when you have that many holes. Like, I just think that that's something you can get in a later round and fulfill a need. Like, I just don't place the value super high. If it was an outside rusher, like, that's a different scenario. But just inside D-line, I don't like the value of taking it in the first round when you have that many holes as Washington.
And there's a thing with Washington there, but also I know the Saints wanted Davenport, but they used a lot of collateral to go up and get a D tackle. I did not like that. I didn't mind them taking a defensive end. It's just having to move up 13 spots and give up next year's first round pick for a defensive end at UTSA. Just that's one thing I did not like there with the Saints. Even though they're in win now mode, that would seem like a bit of a reach to me to go that high. Luke, you had a guy tied in there in the late first round that you didn't like.
Oh yeah, also Hayden Hurst from South Carolina. I mean, like, he'll be a solid tight end. I just don't see going up, for a tight end that early, like one that is not like what we saw last year with David Njoku or we've seen in the past. I just don't see him as like the top tight end coming off the board.
You didn't see him as a guy who could bring a game open. He's more of a Todd Heap situation, Heath Miller guy who's going to be consistent but never going to flash in the play. And you kind of need that flash in the pan guy in the first round as a tight end almost.
Especially with a team like the Ravens, like I said earlier, have had the most boring offense for the last 5 or 6 years. So
let's get a guy who can catch 5-yard passes because that's what we do best.
Yeah.
What about you, Ryan? Any guys in the first round that you kind of looked at and were kind of surprised he kind of went there? Or
not necessarily picks per se, but I thought the Raiders did a real bad job with that number 10 pick. They had a shot at Minkah Fitzpatrick. They had a shot at Derwin James. They had their pick of the litter there between the two of them and decided to hand it to the Cardinals for Josh Rosen. I get they got the 15th pick out of it, but then it came to the 15th pick. Derwin James was still on the board, and they didn't pick him.
Well, with Colton Miller, tackle out of UCLA.
They need a lot of help at the back end of that defense. Derwin James and Minkah Fitzpatrick were two great options. What?
Yeah,
I mean, I get the highest paid offensive line in the NFL was terrible last year, but come on now.
My thing with that whole trade was Arizona got the number 10 pick, Oakland got number 15, a third-round pick, and a fifth-round pick. They used that third-round pick to trade to Pittsburgh to get Martavis Bryant.
That was a good use of a trade.
But I didn't think they got a whole lot in that trade to move back 5 spots when there's so much talent on the board. That's one thing I didn't like, but they didn't get a whole lot of value for the number 10 pick.
No.
My whole thing for it.
Yeah, if you're going to trade off the number 10 pick, especially when you have a guy that can help out your entire defense in Minkah Fitzpatrick sitting right there.
I think you just need to get at least a second-round pick for it.
At least. Or just take the pick and don't worry about the trade.
Because you know Arizona wants a quarterback, so you fleece them.
Yeah.
You got fleeced.
For real.
Also think about it this way, though. For the 10 pick, they got an offensive lineman who looks like he's going to be solid. Colton Miller looks like he's going to be solid. They got Martavis Bryant and whoever they get in the 6th round, like for that 10 pick.
I get
Fifth
that.
round, yeah.
I get that. But my other question is, why not pick Derwin James? I know you want an offensive lineman. Yeah, yada, yada. That offense doesn't need any help. The defense needs a lot. The defense is hurting.
Yeah, that's
They're
my
terrible.
Too.
They're terrible.
And even if you don't want, Derwin James as a safety, you want to take Tremaine Edmonds, who's still available at that point. You need help in the defense at every level, pretty much, besides Khalil Mack.
Yeah.
So that's just my point with Oakland. I thought they were going to go full defense because that was
their
a
defense
position
is
of need.
bad.
Yeah, but maybe they're going to go the full Chief route and try to win every game 35-32.
Maybe.
It'll be entertaining at least when those two teams play because they won't play any defense. Just 400 yards passing for each side. That'll be fun to watch.
Been for the last couple of years, so.
Except for when Derek Carr plays in Kansas City in December, then he's absolutely terrible, which is just awesome.
His one Achilles heel. There's a few of those we got with quarterbacks. Just like whenever Cam plays the Patriots, he always goes off, and Tom Brady finds a way to lose.
And the Chiefs can't beat Pittsburgh, so it's great. And then one thing I didn't like was the Steelers.
They can't just run cover 2 and stay over the top and that work all the time now. Because we have a quarterback that can actually probably pick apart. So.
Do not bash Alex Smith on the show.
Well,
not allowed. I'm kidding. One thing I didn't like was Pittsburgh. They took safety Terrell Edmonds out of Virginia Tech. I thought he was a bit of a reach there. He was the 6th best safety according to ESPN. They picked him in the first round. I think he was the 3rd safety off the board. I just thought he was a bit of a reach, and I don't know, just kind of questionable. It was cool to see Ryan Shazier announce the pick. That was one thing I thought was really interesting.
And cool to have 2 brothers go in the first round.
Yeah, that was interesting. I just thought he was a bit of a reach.
Yeah.
Well, you look at Terrell Edmonds, and he's a solid safety, but you're right. He's the number 6 safety in the draft. I think this might just be a situation of Pittsburgh saw something in him that he liked better than the 2 guys ahead of him. Being the 3rd guy off the board at safety and being the 6th best safety, there might have been potentially some issues with guys ahead of him, or he just in the interview, some intangibles that might have just blown the Pittsburgh front office away as far as that goes. I think that's a situation you have to think about is that maybe that combine interview he just did really well on, and he thinks the Steelers think he's a guy that might fit the culture there.
And that might be better, the case, but I just thought in the first round I picked 28, picking the 81st best player in the draft was a little bit of a reach. That's just me personally, but maybe they, as you said, saw something in the interviews.
Yeah, it is a reach, but like say if especially that late in the first round, if you're a team that's as solid as Pittsburgh is. You can kind of take your pick of guys, and if they feel like he's going to fit their culture better than some others, then why not?
Pittsburgh's also always been known to take their system fit over talent. So if they think that defensively he fits their system better, they'll take him. They did that. T.J. Watt was really talented last year, but there was guys ahead of him when Pittsburgh took him, and
that's fair.
It showed in first year that T.J. Watt fits their system, and he's going to be really good there.
Also, another fun thing to bring up too. So there were 12 trades yesterday. During the draft, and then you throw in the ones before. Half of the picks were a trade this year. Half of the first round was from a trade, including we had 14, 15, 16 was all trades last night.
10, 11, 12 guys who were drafted in the first round were traded picks. So, yeah, it's a lot of just moving around. And Baltimore moving back, then moving back in the draft, then moving back up in the draft. Tennessee doing the same thing, just kind of shuffling around.
Take into account the Jets were from a trade.
Yeah.
The second pick for the Browns was from a trade.
Yeah, so you throw all that. You had three more.
Buffalo's
3, 4,
second round
6,
pick.
7, 10, 12, 14, 15, 16, 18, 21, 22, 23, 25, 27, 32 were all a result of some sort of trade at some point.
Wow. It's a lot of movement there in the first round, especially early. Just kind of stuff that wouldn't happen there with Buffalo moving up and Arizona moving up to get quarterbacks. It was just kind of crazy with everything that kind of unfolded there in that first round. I just thought it was really entertaining to watch. It was definitely fun theater for the NFL in the draft there, and
Man, that was long, too.
it was super long, and I enjoyed every second of it because draft is always something I always like to watch every year. So I think Luke Peterson and Ryan's to go to work, and Luke has an interview to go to. So good luck to both of you at work and for your interview. Thanks for coming on the show, Luke, and your first and final appearance on WSK. Thanks, guys, for coming on, and we'll come back and talk the NFL draft with me and Luke for a segment.
Sounds good.
And then
we'll take part 2.
Friday take part 2. Part 1 for today. We didn't do the morning show.
Fair enough.
A little early on this finals week. But we're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll continue with the NFL draft. And then after that, we'll move on to the NBA playoffs. We'll have Noah and Perry coming in to talk about the NBA. So it's up next here on the Weekend Sports Kickoff on KZLX LP Maryville. And welcome back into the Weekend Sports Kickoff. Devin Albertson with Luke Sanders here on the show. We're going to hold it down for the next 30 minutes until Perry and Noah get here for the NBA discussion. But now, we've already talked about the first round pretty in-depth with quarterbacks, trades, guys we like, guys we didn't like. But now, time to talk about
one question. Who do you think the biggest winner and loser of the first round was?
Biggest winner? I'd probably go with either the Jets or the Cardinals because they got the quarterback of the future at value picks I didn't think they would fall to.
All right, I could see either of those being winners as well. I also low-key have the Packers because
they need corner help.
Well, they got Alexander, and they're the ones that traded with the Saints.
Yes, they got a lot of stuff back.
So they traded back. They got the guy they were probably going to get anyways in Alexander, which I don't know why they liked him more than the other guys, but it was throughout the whole draft process, it was said that they liked him more. So.
And he's a good cover guy, and he also can help with special teams. I think they like that as well. So yeah, that trade that you referenced there, the Green Bay got pick number. I guess they ended up using. Sorry, I'm gonna go back. Yeah, they traded back from 14 to 27. They ended up getting a 5th round pick and next year's 1st round pick. They ended up trading pick 27 to move back up with Seattle. They used it to get pick 18 and a 7th round pick, and had to give up pick 27 and then a 3rd rounder and a 6th rounder. So a lot of moving around there for Green Bay, but I think they got good value. And Seattle only got Rashard Penny with their pick, and Green Bay got an impact corner. So I like what Green Bay did a lot.
Yeah,
there with their draft.
Also New England, but that doesn't count because they're New England.
Every year, win. Every year, it's ridiculous. As we said earlier, I kind of like what Miami did with getting the best guy there, available at 11, some stuff going on there with some decent. And the Bills, if Josh Allen's good, then him and Edmonds is a really good draft. But I don't believe Josh Allen's gonna be good, so I won't give that to him.
No, I don't like that either.
So now we're gonna look at guys that could fall, that have fallen today to the 2nd round. The best 6 guys available according to ESPN. You got James Daniels, a center out of Iowa, Will Hernandez, a guard out of UTEP, Harold Landry, an outside linebacker out of Boston College, Josh Jackson, corner out of Iowa, Nick Chubb, running back out of Georgia, and Darius Geis, a running back out of LSU, are the top 6 guys available according to ESPN's DraftCast. Chiefs have picked, I think, number 54, so it's still later in the 2nd round. If they do take it at 54, first of all, Pizza Hut pizza for that draft pick, because it's picked. So that's the 3rd round pick. Sorry, not that one. My bad. But still 54. They might be able to get a decent guy there. Or do you think they trade up and try to get a guy they're targeting?
I really hope they trade up to get Josh Jackson. That's all I want them to do.
It'd be very exciting if that happened.
Yes,
super exciting.
We need it so bad.
Why do you say that?
Why do you say we need a corner? Because we need our biggest need is far and away corner.
And why is that?
Because our corners are bad.
Because we traded our best corner away?
Well, you can't win them all, okay?
The best corners available according to ESPN, you have Josh Jackson, Dante Jackson out of LSU.
I really like Dante Jackson, too. Who could fall to our actual pick.
Isaiah Oliver out of Colorado, Duke Dawson out of Florida, and Holton Hill out of Texas.
I see us picking Oliver over Jackson because Fuller's more of a slot guy right now.
He can play outside or inside, so yeah.
And Oliver can play outside better than what's the other guy?
Dante Jackson.
Yeah, out of LSU. He's short.
He's 5'11", 180. Yeah.
Yeah, really quick guy. I like him.
He ran a 4.32.
Yeah, I like him a lot.
That's fast. He makes fast guys look.
Yeah, he can only cover the slot. He'll never be able to play outside probably.
And Oliver, his pre-draft analyst analysis, excellent arm length and above average speed for his size, but he's still developing his instincts, technique, and strength at corner. If developed properly, he should contribute as a sub-package corner early in his career before emerging as a solid perimeter starter, 6 foot, 200-pound corner out of Colorado.
And Josh Jackson reminds me of Marcus Peters. Like that's my comparison. I watch him play.
6 foot, 200, playmaker, above average ball skills, instincts. Without all the baggage, but I don't think he has the upside of Peters, but he also didn't have the low points of Peters either. So
he has the upside of Peters.
Not that upside, not that. Marcus Peters is really, really good. I think Josh Jackson's gonna be good.
He also doesn't have the stupidity and the ability to get burned on every single devil move ever.
That's fair. But what Peters does with that is why has the higher upside, is because he gambles more.
Unfortunately, I watched the entire game and watched the plays that Peters should get entirely burned on and just sometimes doesn't take and get advantage of. And sometimes it does, and he just gets burnt, and like people don't talk about it.
That's fair.
I like Peters. He's a top 5 corner talent right now. But the fact that we got rid of him does not necessarily.
I was more mad
that
the haul they got back for him. I was mad about.
Well, you saw what they got back for Aqib Talib. Obviously, corners aren't valued anymore.
I guess so. I think Josh Jackson can be really good. I don't think he has the high point of Peters, but I think he doesn't have the low point either. I think he has a much higher floor than what Marcus Peters has. He won't make the boneheaded mistakes.
This one also has a stake in offense. I'm not looking at any more mock drafts.
If it's Will Hernandez, I'm okay with it from UTEP.
It's Austin Corbett out of Nevada.
Never mind. I don't know who that is even. So no, I don't want him.
Yeah, apparently.
I'm gonna look through my stuff here. You said what's his name again?
Austin Corbett, offensive guard, Nevada.
Offensive guard out of Nevada. He is the highest rated guard left with Hernandez and Connor Williams from Texas.
Those two were already gone.
Okay, well, it's interesting with him possibly there. So, yeah.
I just don't think, if we don't take corner, I'm just not going to be happy. Unless there's somebody that falls that should not be there and you just have to take talent.
Guys that I've kind of looked for, Josh Jackson, you kind of said there, if he falls, would be a nice pick.
He will not fall. We will have to.
If the Chiefs trade up to get him, I'd be okay with trading up to get Josh Jackson.
Yeah, and I'm totally okay with that.
Isaiah Oliver would be a nice pick there. If they want Dante Jackson, one other slot guy, I mean, okay, you can't have.
Fuller can play outside. He has the capability to do it.
You can't have enough corners.
We showed that.
I mean, when you play Pittsburgh and you have to guard Antonio Brown and Juju Smith-Schuster, you don't want to resort to Justin Houston.
Or Phillip Gaines.
He's gone. He's in Buffalo, thank goodness. Also, safety, some guys that are available. Justin Reed out of Stanford.
Yeah, they have him going the pick after we take this offensive guard, so I'd be very upset about that as well.
Ball hawk with excellent speed and athleticism, has experience playing nickel, safety, and cornerback.
Yeah,
versatile player. He also best working as a center fielder and a single high safety, kind of like what Parker did last year for the Chiefs.
I don't know. You could put Eric Berry back in his normal spot, and you could have him back there. My favorite 2 picks, honestly, is stay back at 54 if you can get Justin Reed, or trade up a couple. You don't have to trade up very far to get him. He'll still fall back quite a bit. Or if you trade up to get Josh Jackson. Those are my 2 favorite. Yeah. And if we do anything besides get any kind of defensive back, I'm probably going to be not happy.
The only thing I'd be okay with is Mo Hurst out of Michigan, the defensive lineman.
Because a lot of medical issues, and I don't like drafting D linemen with medical issues.
Go away. He's explosive. He's really talented. I want him next to Chris Jones. I would be okay with it. I'm not saying he'd be my first pick. I'm just saying I wouldn't be irate about it.
We don't need to take another stupid defensive lineman. We do that every year.
Yeah, because Chris Jones was an awful pick.
Okay. We also took every single lineman to ever come out of LSU, and how did those work out? You remember Glenn Dorsey?
Yes, that was also a different regime. Yes.
Yeah. Well, they did the same thing.
Yeah, those were also top 5 picks. This is second rounder. It's different.
What about who else? We've taken other.
How about Dontari Poe? Is he a bad pick?
No.
Yes. Shut up.
But we ended up getting rid of him, and he's not our team anymore. And he had back issues, which ended up coming back to haunt him.
Which is why we didn't re-sign him, but he was fine when he was in Kansas City. He was a very valuable pick. He threw a touchdown, okay?
I'm not saying he
He's
wasn't.
more accurate than Tim Tebow, which
But
is
I'd rather get a corner that'll last 10 years than a D lineman that has 2 good years, and then all of a sudden we have to get rid of him.
Well, the
because
last corner we drafted high, we didn't keep him anyways. We traded him away.
That's the old regime.
No, it wasn't.
This works both ways. We had Marcus Peters, but
It
there
was
were
John
so
Dorsey.
many
It was
reasons.
still Andy Reid was the guy who drafted him. Like, it was still the same regime.
I know, but there were so many off the field reasons that we got rid of Marcus Peters.
It was off the field with Bo too. His back couldn't stand the field.
That's
Different off the field. I know. I get it.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying I would be okay.
I'm not.
With Mo
I'm
Hurst,
not okay with taking
especially
defensive linemen.
if Jackson and Reed are both off the board, and say Oliver. If those guys are off the board, I'd be okay with Mo Hurst, or I'd be okay with Lorenzo Carter from Georgia, outside linebacker, because I think you need depth there behind D Ford, who can't stay healthy in his last year's contract, and Justin Houston needs someone opposite of him to actually produce.
Passanio.
Besides Frank Zombo, and Passanio is still developing.
So then we draft another developing guy? That doesn't make any
Lorenzo Carter is a
sense.
really good guy, though. I think he's gonna be a
So
really
is
good draft pick.
Passanio. That dude is so talented. I don't get why we don't play him.
Because Frank Zombo is better, apparently.
I don't get it.
Take it up with Bob.
Also, we still have Bob. Can we get rid of him? Can we draft a defensive coordinator? Like, that's a legitimate.
That was a great tweet last night. I knew you would like that one.
Yeah, that was solid.
Can we trade up to get a D coordinator in the first round? We didn't do it, so back to Bob Sutton. Yeah, but I like
would
Lorenzo
trade
Carter.
my second and third round pick for a defensive coordinator.
So definitely some interesting things that could happen here with the Chiefs. I just do not want a receiver, I don't even want a tight end or anything like that. Like, I know, like, if that guy from Penn State does fall, he's really talented. We just don't need a tight end.
No.
I know he's really talented. He could be a really nice piece next to Kelsey.
If we don't take a defensive back, I'm gonna throw it.
Make sure you guys follow Luke Sanders on Twitter.
It could be interesting.
What's your Twitter account name? It's just at Luke Sanders?
It's like at Luke Sanders _14 or something like that.
It's at Luke Sanders 14. No underscore. Just
No
14.
underscore. Notice I don't give myself a lot of like
Yes.
shout outs.
Oh, you look at national media, it's like, oh, it's just this. And you're like, something, Luke Sanders.
Yeah.
Luke Sanders 14 on Twitter if you want to. I like your pinned tweet, by the way.
What is it?
It's the Pitts versus Jordan Spencer from
Oh,
Augie.
yeah, that's solid.
108 retweets. Nice.
Not bad. That's the only time I've ever been
340
popular in my
likes.
entire life.
That thing blew up in like no time.
It did.
Well done.
And it
Yeah.
ended up working out too because we won the Natty. So
Yeah, yes, it did. So nicely done there for Northwest. I am excited to see the second and third round. Starts at 6 o'clock tonight. Should be a lot of fun there with the Chiefs. And I think Brett Veach is going to be really aggressive. So I don't think I have to worry about waiting until 54 to actually pick. So I think he's going to move around the draft, and it's going to be a lot of fun to keep. Well, it's going to be taxing because you have to like pay attention the entire time because you don't know if the Chiefs are going to move up or down. But it's going to be fun because the
Yeah.
Chiefs can move up or down anytime they want
I
to.
want us to move up for Josh Jackson, and then I'm not afraid to move down most of the rest of the draft. Like,
Get an impact guy in the second round.
we need an impact corner or safety to play right away. And
Yes.
outside of that, we don't really need anything to come in and play right away.
Because
We
middle
can afford
linebacker's
taking-
fine.
Yeah, middle linebacker should actually be really good with
Because
Ragland
Hitchens.
and Hitchens.
That's free agency helped a lot there. I could use some more depth in the D line, but no guys that's going to come in and start right away.
Exactly. So you can take those in the later round, develop them. We have really
Or
good
take Mo
development.
Hurst. Anyways,
No, I don't want to take a guy with health issues on the defensive line.
he'd be fine. Consensus All-American. He's fine. He'd be okay.
If we stay at 54 and then Oliver and Jackson are gone and both Oliver and both
Reed.
Jacksons and
Reed.
Reed is gone, like then okay, take a D lineman. Like you don't have the guy you want there. I get that. But if any of those guys are still there and we take him, I'm gonna throw a fit. Like
I will at you because I know you'll be mad.
I will be so mad. It's been our glaring need for a long time.
We addressed it with Philip Gaines a few years ago, though, with a third-round pick. Well, she was actually fine before he tore his ACL in 2015, and then he became absolute trash.
Yeah. But, I mean, like, we've had this need. We haven't taken a corner. We keep taking defensive line for depth. I'm like, okay, we have depth, but we can't play a corner that can play. Like, I don't get it. Help me.
Help me help you? Is that what you're saying here?
Yes. Help me help you. Although none of them are listening to this radio show, so.
Okay, so this is
I don't
last
know
year.
you
The
can
Chiefs
help
took Mahomes, Passanio, Hunt, Chesson, Elagwe, and then Leon McQuay in the 6th round, safety.
I think last year was one of the best drafts they've had in a while.
Then
honestly.
before that, it was Chris Jones, Kawhi Russell, who they released after 3 games in the 3rd round, Parker Inger, Eric Murray in the 4th round, the corner, Marcus Robinson, Kevin Hogan, who they traded later, Tyreek Hill, DJ White, another corner, and Dottie Nicholas. They've tried to draft corners. It just hadn't worked.
Well, they're just bad at doing it.
Then Steven Nelson in the 3rd round with Marcus Peters in 2015.
Steven Nelson, actually, I kind of forget about him. Like, he can play. So, like, safety and corner are our biggest needs. But, like, corner, we don't need as bad. We have to take a safety this draft.
Yes, because they don't really have a second one besides Daniel Sorensen. That's just scary.
And Daniel Sorensen's not bad when he gets to play his role.
You mean not the Eric Berry role?
Yes.
Is that an absolute disaster?
Yes.
I think it is.
And honestly, Eric Berry's coming off an Achilles injury, which I hate to say this out loud, but like that's a really easily re-injured injury. Like that's a tough one to come back from.
Derek Johnson.
Yeah. So like we need to have a plan in case Berry gets hurt because last year we didn't have a defense when Eric Berry got hurt.
He's just so good back there.
I know, but like you can't do the same thing, and you know that. Oh, I hate him. You know that Bob isn't going to change anything he does. So we need to have a guy that can kind of fulfill Eric Berry's role.
You want to hear the 2014 draft for the Chiefs? It's kind of sad.
No, I don't.
D Ford.
It's bad.
Philip Gaines, D'Anthony Thomas, Aaron Murray, Zach Fulton, and then Tardif in the 6th round.
I mean, actually.
The 6th round picks are our best one.
Yeah. I was
with Fulton and Tardif.
Fulton and Tardif are solid.
D Ford just been hurt.
Talented. Like
he showed flashes.
You really can't blame them for drafting him. Like they didn't know he was going to get hurt. But that's why you don't take D linemen with medical issues.
He didn't have medical issues coming in, did he?
No.
Exactly.
So he didn't even have them coming in. What about guys that do now? Devin Albertson.
They get nice and healthy. It's a magic wand. Yeah, but the middle guys there with Gaines, D'Anthony Thomas, and Aaron Murray.
I mean, D'Anthony was a solid pick, too, because
he's a great distraction.
He's added a lot of value in other ways besides playing receiver.
Besides actually producing on the field, he's a great distraction because he is so fast, and you have to account for him because if you don't...
I mean, he was a really solid return guy for a couple of years, too. Before we had Tyreek Hill, D'Anthony Thomas was making a lot of plays.
Yeah. It was that little grace period between McCluster and Hill. We had D'Anthony Thomas, and he was really good. Until he went off the walls for that whole year, and, like, no one heard a thing out of D'Anthony Thomas, or, like nothing was said for a year. It's like he just kind of fell off the face of the earth. And then he came back. I don't know what happened there, but
no, there was some kind of family issue or something that.
Yeah, it was something weird happened there with him. But I'm excited to see what the Chiefs do this year. I think the offense is going to be really good this year. The defense needs talent because, frankly, Bob Sutton cannot coach without immense talent on the defensive end. So you have to give him talent there.
So he can't coach.
He's had good defenses.
He's Ned Yost. He's Ned Yost.
That's great.
When you can't screw it up, Bob's there.
By the way, I like listening to 610 Sports and their morning show, except when they talk about the Royals, because they're so in love with Ned Yost. I just can't listen to it because I'm like, guys, Ned Yost is not a good manager. He's just not. I don't know. I get you're all like friends with him, but he's just not good. Like
no, and then they're talking about bringing him back after this year.
They talked about that. They're like kind of surprised, but I like the move. It's like. I guess if you want to be bad so you get more first-round picks, yes, keep Ned Yost as your manager so you can keep being bad.
Well, okay, let's hold on. You can't blame Ned Yost for being bad this year because we're going to be bad whoever's there.
I understand that, but he won't accidentally get good. Like, he will make sure they stay bad. Like, there's little chance that he elevates them to a level they shouldn't be at. Instead of losing 90 games, you lose 80. It's like, no, they're going to stay at 90 games losing because that's where Ned Yost will be with his talent.
That's fine. We can keep him for one more year. Just admit we're going to be bad. Get a first-round pick, and then get a new manager.
We suck again. Which, by the way, him not knowing what their actual record is also just terrific.
At that point, I pretty much would have given up, too, so I don't really...
And also not knowing that your pitchers have a no-hitter through the 5th inning. You think he's laboring. Just kind of baffling to me. Mm-hmm. Earlier this year with Junis. Like, he's laboring the 5th inning. Ned, he has a no-hitter going. Oh. Like, really? Like, he just baffles me with his coaching style. Okay. You call it coaching style.
We should not. I shouldn't have brought it into that. But
no, we shouldn't have.
The point is that neither one of them can coach without immense talent on their team, so.
Fair. So, definitely need help on the defensive end. I look forward to seeing who they take. Look out, 3rd round, linebacker out of UCF, Griffin.
Yes, if we took him, I would not be mad either.
Because he is a nice nickel linebacker / safety kind of guy who's super, super fast. I know he only has like 1.5 arms, but he's really good. Like he's super talented. Besides that point, like if he had 2 hands, like he'd be a first-round pick. Like it's just the way it is.
Like he'd probably be going top.
He'd be going in front of Tremaine Edmonds and all those guys. Like him and Roquan Smith would be in the top.
Him and Bradley Chubb would be in the discussion for best defensive player of this draft.
Because he's really good. and his combine workout was phenomenal, and he actually has a tape to back it up too. It's not like he's just a guy who's super fast and can't produce. Like, he had tape to back it up. I know he played in the AAC.
Well, I mean, you even watch when they played Auburn. Like, he just destroyed them.
He flashed in the field. Like, he pops out in film. Like, he's super good. And he's like a 3rd or 4th round grade. If the Chiefs can get him, it'd be great because they need speed in the defense. And he definitely has it.
I just hope that he goes somewhere where he gets a chance. Like, that's all that matters. I really am rooting for the guy personally because he seems like a really good guy.
Definitely. So. He's listed the 11th best outside linebacker available. Number 174 in the draft, so 3rd rounder probably. But
number 174 in the draft? That puts him in like the 6th round.
Overall rank 174.
Yeah, that puts him in the 6th round.
Oh, well, I think he's going to go 3rd or 4th round. I think I'm going to take it.
Yeah, he's worth the flight risk.
Yes, he is. And even if
it doesn't seem low, because if you really think about it, the dude has 1.5 hands. Like,
that's fair. And one thing to look at.
1 hand, 1.5 arms.
Yeah. And one thing to kind of look at with him as well is even if he's not going to be a normal contributor on the defensive end, he can still be a really good special teams guy for you.
Yeah.
Like a really good. And it's into the 5th round. The last pick in the 5th round is 174. So he's like right at the end of the 5th round grade for him right now. But sub packages and special teams enough for a 3rd or 4th round pick who has an upside of possibly
being
it's freaky.
Yeah, being a freak edge rusher, like that's his high side.
Yeah, I like what he does a lot, and I think he could be a nice either edge rusher, guy who can blitz, or even a guy who's going to cover a lot of ground in the secondary. He's just so versatile and just so athletic. It could be a lot of fun there with him. So we're going to take a break. Unless you have anything else about the Chiefs who they should kind of target going forward.
Defensive back. Defensive back.
I think Luke wants him to take a defensive back.
I don't know, something like that.
Also, a couple guys to look forward for D2 guys who could go. There's a tackle out of West Georgia, number 7 available tackle. Tackle out of Humboldt State, Alex Kappa, played against Northwest a few years ago when he was a sophomore. The game did not go well for Humboldt State, but he's really talented. Just the rest of their offense was really bad. So definitely a couple guys there. Also, Nathan Shepard out of Fort Hays has a 2nd-round grade on him, and he's a defensive tackle. He's a big old boy. He's 6'6". He's 6'5", 315.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he kind of destroyed Northwest offensive line last year. He was really good.
Yeah.
So
I'm also looking out for my boy Tanner Lee. No, he's not D2, but
he might as well be.
Might as well play. He played like he was D2. But.
So definitely got to look forward to there. There's also a tight end out of Grand Valley State who could go in the draft. Also look forward to on Saturday, maybe late round, 7th round, Marcus Jones from Northwest. Probably a preferred free agent, but he could have his name called. So 7th rounder if you want to keep an eye on somebody. Marcus Jones from Northwest is definitely a guy to keep your eye on going forward there. So definitely a lot of talent in this year's draft. A little bit low on receivers, which is fine because the Chiefs don't need a receiver really. But it's really high on running backs. If teams need a running back late in the draft, they can get one because the running back's still available. Nick Chubb, Darius Geis, Ronald Jones II, Kerryon Johnson, Royce Freeman, Mark Walton, Wadley from Iowa, John Kelly from Tennessee, Bo Scarborough, Justin Jackson, Josh Adams. I imagine
the Colts will take one of them. Don't they have an early 2nd-round pick?
They have 2 2nd-round picks, 36 and 37.
I imagine they'll take one of those guys with one of those 2 picks.
And they had pick number 49 in the 2nd round. They have 3 2nd-round picks. The Colts can get some talent. They need talent.
At 36 or 37, they'll take guys. They need a guy that can take a lot of carries.
I think they're going to take an offensive. I think you're right there with a running back and then defensive help in the other 2 picks. So I think what the Colts are going to do.
Or another offensive lineman.
Also another solid pick if they draft the guy that what's his name. If they get Will Hernandez out of UTEP and part him next to Nelson, that offensive line, it just got 1,000 times better, and that'd be insane there in the middle. So, one thing to look there with the Colts trying to retool their line and help protect Andrew Luck and maybe get him some weapons to work with so he's not having to throw the ball 40 times a game and getting his shoulder broken. Not usually the best plan for your franchise quarterback.
No, you usually try to keep them healthy, but you know.
So we're going to take a break. When we come back, Nolan Perry should be here, and we'll be able to talk about the NBA playoffs, starting with the Eastern Conference next here on the Weekend Sports Kickoff on KZLX LP Maryville. Is about to start. The opinions on the show are the opinions of the host and guest on WSK alone. These opinions do not represent KZLX, Northwest Missouri State University, or Bearcat Athletics. Enjoy the show. And welcome back into the weekend sports kickoff. Devin Albertson alongside Luke Sanders. Now joining us on the show, Noah Cooper and Perry Randle to talk about the NBA playoffs, the duo from Dropping Dimes. How you guys doing on the final Friday of the semester?
Man, it's hot, man. I'll tell you that. But, hey, so is the NBA playoffs. It's hotter than Hot Pockets, man. I love it.
How about you, Noah?
It just feels good to be done with school. That's about it.
That's a great note there with the school finally ending for the semester. My college career ending tomorrow afternoon. Literally less than 24 hours away until graduation ceremony for me. So really excited about that. And the NBA playoffs, you guys said they're been really exciting so far. One series done in the Eastern Conference with the Sixers dispatching the Heat in 5 games. Talk about this series first. Philadelphia just manhandling Miami. Besides Game 2, I believe, they just took it to the Heat. Especially when Embiid came back, it was pretty much a wrap for the Heat after that point.
Well, I mean, like the Heat, they would throw the punches, and then they tried to be more physical with Philadelphia throughout the series. But Ben Simmons just started. He handled his way those first couple games without Joel Embiid. And then Embiid came back, and then it was just kind of two juggernauts that were kind of too much to handle for Miami.
Yeah, Miami really, like Perry said, they couldn't really handle Philadelphia. Philadelphia is already coming into their own, like we've seen the last couple weeks, especially going on that 16-game win streak to end the season. We've really seen a brand new Philadelphia brand of basketball, and there's a lot to like with Philadelphia. They got their young guys who have been there all season, and they got the veterans they added shortly after the trade deadline, and it's really helped them down the stretch here. Win a lot of these games, and I've really liked what Philadelphia's done. We saw I didn't really think Miami really had that much of a chance after Game 4, I believe it was, when Dwayne Wade, he almost sounded like he was giving an exit interview in the postgame. He's like, Philadelphia's a lot to handle. I don't know how we're going to be able to stop them. And I'm like, yeah, it's over for Miami after this. I don't think they have any chance in Game 5.
I told Noah while we was talking about the series, I was like, hey, as long as Kevin Hart's at any game, they're going to lose, right? Mm-hmm. They went back to Philadelphia for the closeout game. I didn't know Meek Mill was going to be there to set it off, man. That just made everything worse.
It cancels it out,
I was like, whoa.
Yeah, that was crazy. Luke, what did you thought about this first-round series with Philly and Miami?
Miami's not talented enough to play with them. That's pretty much all it boiled down to. Like, Miami doesn't have a lot of talent. They have Spoelstra, so that's how they got a game out of this, but they're just not good.
I think if they had a better Whiteside, a more focused Whiteside, because he didn't look like he was engaged, and I feel like that's what they really needed.
It's like he had Karl Anthony Towns syndrome from his first 4 games or something. It's like they didn't get all they could out of Whiteside, and that's something big right there. When Whiteside can't at least offset a little bit of what Embiid does, you're gonna have a problem. Whiteside's not necessarily the scorer, but when he can't stop anyone else on the team, then that's an issue right there.
And you're paying him $20 million, $23 million to do something on the floor. Didn't do a whole lot there for him in that series versus Embiid getting thoroughly outplayed. And Miami was missing Dion Waiters. I mean, Dion Waiters jumpstarted a lot of their offense there for him. He might be a little bit erratic, but he's a guy they need to score on their offensive end. And
but even with Waiters,
they were going to win this series.
Maybe they get another game. Maybe you could see him might getting another one of those games at home. But still, Philadelphia is just so much to handle for Miami at this point.
And D Wade was really good this series.
Mm-hmm.
He was good for his old self, 36 years old. And he played really well. It just not a whole lot he can do at this age to offset what Simmons and Embiid did. And it could be, as you said, his last series. And if so,
you guys think he's done?
Hey, I saw him do a windmill yesterday, so I think he's coming back.
I don't think he's done yet. I thought that was surprising when all the reports were coming out saying D Wade might be done. To me, I was like, Dwayne Wade, he's still got a little bit left in the tank. We saw in this series, he can still put up buckets. He
averaged almost 17 a game this series.
Getting over 30 in Game 2, absolutely going off. I think he only missed 3 or 4 shots that game. That's something that you can't expect every night out of D Wade, but he can still bring you that, every week or two.
Hey, his best friend is LeBron James, and birds of a feather flock together. All right, so he likes the drama of what if I'm retiring this year, just to get the media going too. So he'll be back next year. I'll say it right now.
I think he'll be back, but it's kind of just like if he doesn't want to come back to not be the guy, like he won't be the guy ever again. And this is probably the last year he ever really had that. So I don't know. I see him not coming back as well though, because D Wade wants to be the guy, and he didn't have that in Cleveland. That's why he wanted to get out of there, because he wasn't even close to the guy in Cleveland. Like, he was just not very good there.
And he went back to Wade County, led the Heat to the playoffs, and they played well in the series. Even though they got beaten 5 games, we said, just thoroughly outmatched by the 76ers. And this team is going to be a problem for the rest of the Eastern Conference for years to come. I can't wait to see them versus the Celtics in the next coming years when both teams are healthy, going at each other in the playoffs. And speaking of the Celtics, them and the Bucks going to Game 7 last night. The Bucks at home. Neither team can win on the road apparently in this series. And last night, Giannis was just too much for the Celtics. And I think Game 7 comes down to best player versus the best coach in the game. And this is probably the rare occasion where I'll take the coach. I think the Celtics, I said before the series, Celtics in 7. I'm going to stick with it. I think the Celtics win Game 7, but it's going to be a fun game. Really fun. The home court advantage might be too much for the Bucks to overcome in this one.
All right, that's what I think, because I had the Bucks in 7, and I'm real close to being right. But Brad Stevens and that home court advantage, I'm like, man, I'm about to be wrong. God damn.
Well, we see it a lot in the playoffs where role players have a really hard time playing on the road. And right now, besides Giannis, practically everyone on both teams is a role player. And we've seen, the Bucks team, when they're playing at home, they play really well. But then when they go to Boston, guys like Jabari Parker, they don't step up enough. They don't take as many shots. I mean, and even Giannis, we saw in Game 5 in Boston, he
did nothing in the fourth quarter.
I think he only took like 9 or 10 shots that game.
Yeah, 10 shots.
I want to see more out of him, especially. And I liked how aggressive he was in Game 6. But I gotta agree with you guys. I picked the Celtics in 6 before the series started. But like we've seen the whole series, it seems like these role players, they do so great at home. They start to struggle on the road a little bit. And, Terry Rozier, another one of those guys, he played so good in the first 2 games. The next 2 games, he kind of faded away. It's like, who is this guy? And
Eric Bledsoe hadn't shown up at all from Milwaukee.
He hasn't showed up the entire time.
Drew Bledsoe.
Yeah, I think Boston will be too much tonight. At home, they got Brad Stevens, Jason Tatum. Like, all the young guys play so much better at home. It's just, I'm interested to see if they can take the energy, if they end up winning this game, and play against Philly, because they'll have home court advantage again.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see if they can take some of that energy and put it against Philly.
And this Game 7 will be tomorrow night at 7 o'clock on TNT for that one, with Game 6 was last night in Milwaukee. And it was a fun game to watch. We had it on the other TV, watching the NFL draft. I was kind of looking over occasionally and seeing Milwaukee, especially in the fourth quarter, kind of withstand Boston there late. It's just kind of weird to watch this series, and just the road team has not played well in any of the games kind of going in here. And after the first 2 games, I had Boston in 7. I'm like, Boston kind of dominated games 1 and 2 with Giannis playing. Well, Milwaukee might not make this to a game 5 or 6. And then, of course, whatever happened in Milwaukee's happened 3 times. I'm like, okay, there we go. My prediction, at least it's going to be close. If it's 7 either way, at least I got to a game 7. Last year I had Sixers in 6. They won it in 5. So this one, at least going to the game 7, should be fun. I think the Celtics, though, they're just so well coached at home. Playing in the Garden is just too much there for Milwaukee, even though I do like watching Giannis play. And getting 7 games of Giannis is never a bad thing in the playoffs.
I think it really all comes down to how well Giannis does in this Game 7. I think even if he has an outstanding game, the Celtics could still win. But, I mean, it's going to take an outstanding game for the Bucks to win. It's going to take an outstanding game from Giannis, really.
I think the only way that the Bucks win is Giannis get 50. That's what he's gonna have to
for
do.
50.
He need 50.
Has he ever gotten 50?
He's never got. That's what I said before the series started. I was like, this is gonna have to be Giannis's coming out party, because players are made in the playoffs, the real players. So I feel like this series kind of made for Giannis to have a breakout, and it's going to a game 7, so it's perfect for him. But at the same time, he's still pretty young, and I kind of feel like home court advantage in Boston is pretty overwhelming for him right now. So, not this year, but maybe next year. But, hey, if they win, I'm going to go ahead and say it. I was right. All right?
Giannis's career high for points is 44 versus the Trailblazers in October earlier this season.
I feel like if you could get to 30 and a triple-double, too, that would get it done.
With the assist, yeah. If they can get the assist up there, and other guys are making shots around him at that point,
yeah.
They can take a little. If Middleton and Parker play well around him,
Middleton's played well the whole series. They need someone besides Giannis and Middleton to do something at Boston.
Hey, Drew Bledsoe need 20, all right?
Has he figured out Rozier's name at this point?
I don't think so. They was about to fight. He didn't even know he was fighting. He said, "What's your name?" Hey.
That's always entertaining to watch those guys, and just the physicality of the series has also been entertaining to watch. These two teams don't really like each other that much. It's kind of just fun to watch. Giannis guarding Horford on one end and going at him on the other end. It's always kind of interesting to see those two go at it, because Horford's kind of a flashback in the pan, big guy, and Giannis trying to take him on the post. It's always kind of fun to watch. Giannis, his versatility on defense there is always fun to watch. In the next series here, Toronto-Washington, another series where the road team is just incapable of winning. Washington actually is one of the two teams the last 2 years in the playoffs who does not lose a home game. The other one is the Warriors, who make the finals, and the Wizards couldn't make it out of the second round because they can't win on the road. And
John Wall still stepped up on the scorers table, though. So
yes, he did. 3-2 lead for Raptors right now, going to a Game 6. And that Game 6 will be tonight, I believe. Yeah, tonight at 6 o'clock on ESPN News. So that's what's going to go on.
That's how much the NBA values that game.
Well, it's Toronto. They don't want the Canadian market to take up ESPN with Cavs, Indians, and Indiana versus Oklahoma City, Utah. So you can see LeBron and Westbrook instead of.
Before this game started, I thought that Toronto would win this game, and now I feel like they have an even better chance winning now that Otto Porter's going to be out.
Yep.
He had leg surgery earlier today, so that's a key piece that the Wizards lost right there, and I think they need all their guys if they wanted to beat the Raptors in this one. But I mean, they've kept it close in almost every game, so I wouldn't be surprised if this one's another close game. But I fully expect Toronto to finally close this series out.
This series has been a perfect indicator for why I call them the baby dinosaurs, dragon tails, all that. Because if this team was actually as good as they played all season, they would have beat this team at least 4 or 5.
Yeah.
In my opinion. But now, they dropped those 2 in DC. But I had them winning this game. Like Noah said, I had them winning this game, but more so now that Otto Porter's out, because that's a big piece to whatever the Wizards' success is. I don't know what it is, but the Raptors, they'll probably get it done tonight. They're going to need a good quality game from Kyle Lowry, and then they're going to need 30 from DeRozan.
Hey, Otto's the GOAT, isn't he?
Yeah.
It's an inside joke.
Class 1 Mo.
Yeah, we both went Class 1 schools, and my ex-roommate, his roommate, actually played against him in a state championship game and scored on him. So shout out Japheth, but
Otto.
lost by 30. But let's not talk about that.
As far as the Toronto thing going in the playoffs, I feel like Washington was a really bad draw for them because they're so inconsistent that when they play well, they're a really good team, but when they play bad, they're bad. So they look really bad. Yeah. But I think Washington's actually going to win this game and force a Game 7, and I think that's worst case scenario for Toronto.
What's it going to take if you think that?
I think that Wall's got to get to 30, and I think Bradley Beal's got to get to 30. And Gortat's just got to play. It's just, this was at Toronto, I think it wouldn't even be a close game. But since it's at Washington, neither team can win on the road. Toronto has to treat this like a Game 7, though, because the last thing that they want is a Game 7.
They don't want a Game 7, all that pressure against an 8 seed. To lose in the first round.
If they lose this year, the roster's done. It's going to get blown up. They're going to trade.
They'll be at best the third best team, maybe the fourth best team, depending on where LeBron goes in the East next year.
Yeah.
At best, they'll be the third or fourth best team. So, with Toronto, what's Lowry done this year? I really haven't seen his stat lines. I know he hasn't been the lead scorer in any game, but he's just there.
From the games I've watched, he's been just quality. He hasn't done nothing crazy.
It hasn't been as bad as Kyle Lowry in the past.
He's better. He's better.
He's still an all-star caliber, which they kind of need him to be.
He's not necessarily playing, at above and beyond all-star level, but he's still playing good enough to to have a 3-2 series lead right now.
Honestly, if they really want to beat Cleveland next round, which they honestly won't by any means, they're going to have to win tonight. Tonight's a must-win. So that way you can get your rest for LeBron James, and you'll be ready. But tonight's a must-win.
And I think it goes to a Game 7. I think Wall and Beal need to outplay Lowry and DeRozan, and Gortat needs to play Valanciunas to pretty much a draw, maybe even win that matchup. And I think they can do it just enough if that happens to beat Toronto. I just don't believe in Toronto's role players on the road in this one to carry him enough. Maybe in Game 7, if that happens, Toronto wins it. But I think I said Raptors in 7 to start the series. I'm going to keep with it here. I think the Raptors, I just don't trust them on the road to win high-leverage games versus a couple guys like Wall and Beal. I just think they're just too talented for Toronto to pull off the win in Game 6.
We've seen Toronto, their bench has been so great all season, having the best bench in the league. Arguably the best bench in the league, but they had the best plus minus out of any group coming off the bench. And I expect them to at least show up in one of these games on the road. We saw Houston's bench kind of struggled in a lot of their games this series, but they finally figured something out in that Game 4 going into Game 5, and I'd kind of expect the same thing from Toronto's bench in this game to kind of get used to that playoff atmosphere and start scoring a lot of points.
It should be a fun series. I think Toronto wins the series whether it goes 6 or 7, but when it goes to Game 7, Toronto in a Game 7 gets always kind of dicey with them, so it could be entertaining. And if that Game 7 does happen, it would be Sunday, I believe. Yeah, Sunday if necessary, for a Game 7 in that one. In the final series in the Eastern Conference, the Cleveland Cavaliers, LeBron James versus Oladipo and the Indiana Pacers. Cleveland leads the series 3-2 after being down 2-1. LeBron's been phenomenal in this series. What do you guys think about this series so far with Cleveland? Chance to close it out tonight in Game 6.
For LeBron, I think, I'm not a LeBron hater. Let's put it out there like that, all right? But I think that his play has been it's been amazing. Let's say that first and foremost. But at the same time, I feel like it's been kind of, over-talked too. Because at the same time, who else is doing it? Like, who else can do something? I don't think you
very limited outside of him.
Yeah, like when you got Kyle Korver as your second option right now, like it's getting like you said dicey earlier. It's getting dicey over there in Cleveland.
Honestly, he's the only option, and that 46-point game and then a 44-point game. That's what it's going to take in order for this Cleveland team to win ball games.
They won those games by a combined 6 points.
Yeah, my issue is Indiana's a solid team and everything, but Oladipo hasn't been playing well.
Since game
in all
2.
the series, yeah. And, my wonder is if they do happen to face Toronto or Washington, but most likely Toronto in the second round, and then LeBron has to keep this up. I don't know if, he can sustain averaging 40 points a game for them to win the series. And even if he does average 40 points a game, it's going to be really tough to beat, a Raptors team that's got, better pieces than Indiana does.
Yeah, right now LeBron averaging about 43 minutes a game, scoring 35 points on 55% shooting with 11.5 rebounds and 8 assists a game, and they're squeaking by games versus the Indiana Pacers. Not feeling great about it. They're going deep in the playoffs, but they do have LeBron James, and no one else in the East does.
Also, though, something you have to take into account is, everyone's talked about, how their defense is fixed. They flipped the switch. Everyone was worried about mostly
Indiana's just bad at offense.
Mostly Nick Wright. He's they finally figured out how to play defense. The offense will come around. It's yes, Indiana is terrible at offense. They have no one that can score outside of Oladipo.
Lance Stevenson, baby.
Lance Stevenson is their best off
Lance
the dribble
will make
scorer.
you dance.
That's terrible. When it comes to playing Toronto or even Washington, which I don't think that there's any chance that Washington gets out of there actually, but when they play Toronto's going to score 120 points on them.
Can Toronto stop them, though? This is going to be a game that's first to 130 wins.
That's the issue. It's Toronto's going to score a lot of points, but at the same time, they don't really have a guy that they can stick on LeBron, and LeBron's not going to have to guard anyone good on Toronto either. They're not going to put LeBron on DeRozan or Lowry. They're going to throw him out on the wing. He's going to be playing a lot of weak side. It's going to be pretty easy for LeBron against Toronto, so he can take a lot of those possessions off on defense, which means he's going to have a lot more in the tank on offense.
But how do you see them getting more points than what they're getting right now, Devin? Because Toronto's going to learn from Indiana. They're going to make LeBron score the basketball. Even though they've
tried that for years. I've seen Toronto in the playoffs versus LeBron. They can't do it.
Yeah, they don't have
they've had this. You've had this game plan for years. But the old Spurs model where you do this certain way, make other guys beat you, make LeBron score so many, or make LeBron score 40 points a night. And I OG is okay as a young player, but you just can't man up with him, and they just don't have the talent around to do it.
I understand
defensively.
Why that's been an issue in the past, because LeBron can still give the ball to Kyrie, or Kevin Love's playing better, or they have something around him. This year, if LeBron scores 50. Do you see the rest of the squad getting 70?
You know what? Maybe they'll make some more shots.
That's what I'm saying. If Toronto gets to 120, Cleveland can't get to 120.
I think Love will be healthier going in the second round. I'm hoping he does something. And he'll keep Valanciunas out of the lane a little bit to help out the spacing a bit there as well. And I'm just hoping guys like J.R. Smith kind of comes out of his – it's more hope right now with the Cleveland offense at this point with some of their guys there, with Clarkson maybe doing some stuff. Maybe they'll get some more open shots versus Toronto, because I don't think Toronto can just defensively – do what Indiana's doing right now. I don't think they have an Oladipo type stopper guy on their team.
Well, Perry brought this up off air the last Drop and Dimes episode we had, and he was like, I kind of feel like this might be a situation where Kobe, when Kobe lost to the Mavericks in the second round and they got swept, he said, it was a really tough series, that first series against the Pelicans. They beat them in 6 games. And I was thinking the same exact thing Perry was. And Perry's like, what if we get to round 2 and the wheels just fall off for the Cavs, because they're a lot like that Lakers team in terms of they don't really have that great second option, and then we see the Cavs happen to get swept. I mean, I don't think Perry and I expect that to happen, but this almost looks like kind of the same situation right now.
If it was a team not named Toronto in the second round, I would agree with you. But
yeah, but at that time, the Mavericks too, they hadn't. I mean, yeah, they made it to the finals and lost, but they hadn't done too many great things in the playoffs, and they are a team that had been together for a long time. They had a lot of veterans on their team. Toronto's got a couple veterans on their team, and it's a situation that I could see happening this year.
Also, Toronto has home court, so they won't have to beat LeBron on the road.
That's true.
That's the difference. That's the difference between this year, and that's why LeBron has never valued the regular season, and it could come back to bite him.
It'll be a fun series. I'm hoping Toronto wins. I'm hoping Cleveland wins because I really want to see them match up in the second round. I honestly don't know what'll happen. I think you almost have to pick LeBron at this point. I guess you don't have to, but we've seen him make it to the final 7 straight years. I'd pick him to win the series, but he'd really have to work, and he's got to have guys on the team that are going to have to step up.
I don't know, just because. In games this season, George Hill, he went for 10 for 11, and then
they're going to need that.
They
for
had
sure.
Jeff Green go off, I think, for 27 one game. And it just happened. So I don't know what's going to take. But I don't know. Kyle Lowry, he doesn't have the right mindset whenever he's in a series with LeBron James ever. So I don't know if they're going to get to 120. That's my thing. So.
And the game would be a little slower in the playoffs too, so you can expect. I wouldn't expect 120 every game. I'd expect somewhere around like 105 or less, maybe like 110 if the Raptors are really shooting pretty well. But we saw it in the Indiana series. They haven't been making a lot of open shots that the Cavs have been giving them, and they've had a lot of turnovers. I think they had like 18 turnovers last game, 17, 18 turnovers. Toronto's probably not going to do that against Cleveland if they do happen to go up against each other, but. I still don't expect them to score a whole lot more points than Indiana's scoring right now, really.
Hey, hold on. What's your name?
Luke.
My name's Perry. All right. Hold on. So you got Toronto beating Cleveland in the second round.
Yeah, in 7.
That's 7.
Our pick. Yep.
That's a bold statement.
You're right. And there's really nothing historically to base it off of, but I think that Toronto at home can get to 120. I think on the road they'll get to like 90, and the Cavs will win like 190. I just think that Toronto, if they play the way they play at home, and Cleveland's defense is not good. Like if Indiana's having open shots, they're turning the ball over that are stupid turnovers. Like if Indiana makes their shots this series, Indiana's already going on to the next round.
Same thing with the Cavs, though. The Cavs have not had good shooting outside of.
Because the Cavs don't have good shooters. Outside of Korver and George Hill, Jordan Clarkson does not shoot outside. Larry Nance does not shoot outside.
I remember it was the possession late against Indiana, and LeBron got the pass around the block, threw a cross-court pass to the corner to Kyle Korver, who missed it. They got the rebound, kicked it out to another shooter. I think it was JR, and he missed a 3. It's like
I never trust JR either.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys this series in the Cavs that are like completely disappearing from the roster. Like I've seen Kevin Love try to go inside and force shots on Thad Young that he's just not getting at all.
Or Miles Turner.
What
are you doing?
Kevin Love is just completely disappearing right now, and at this point, in my opinion, he's really only good for an offensive rebounder and a spot-up shooter right now for the Cavs, which, they need a little more out of Love if they want to win.
More than 12 points a game?
Yeah, like J.R. Smith completely disappearing right now. Jordan Clarkson, I don't know what happened to him. He probably could have been a 6th Man of the Year candidate earlier in the season, averaging almost 15 points a game. Where's that 15 points a game now? I'm not even sure what he's averaging, but I'd guess like 5 or 6 in this series.
I think he forgets how to dribble a basketball every once in a while. Like everyone's watching him, it's like, handles, bro.
There's a lot of role players on the Cavs that I feel like, geez, are you guys ever going to step up right here? Like, you're getting open shots, you're getting easy drives in the lane. You just got to finish. You got to play within yourself.
You're going to get open looks when you're playing with LeBron. You're just going to because there's so much attention on him. They just have to start knocking him down. And I don't know if they will, but I hope they do because they just need to.
That's kind of what Indiana's been doing though. Like they've been taking away the extra pass from LeBron. Like they're like, if you're going to beat this guy one-on-one, and it's hurt them because LeBron's scoring 40 points a game. But it's also like
I loved last game like how LeBron was so aggressive to start. We said he didn't take as many jumpers as he had in the past couple games. Until late in the game he started taking more jumpers. But to start out that game, every shot that he made was a layup or within 3 feet of the basket.
I think it was all but like the 3 threes they took. I remember tweeting out, it's like, LeBron's been great today besides the 3 step-back threes that have been contested. Those are just dumb, and then he hits the game winner. I'm like, never mind. Just forget me over here, LeBron.
He had 44 points. He made 12 layups, 9 free throws, and 1 3.
Yep. He made 15 free throws.
15 free throws?
15 for 15.
Yeah.
Oh, crap. Okay.
Yeah,
let's go.
That was
maybe it was a game with 42
that was his
then.
most free throws without a miss ever.
The 3 he made was the first shot outside the paint, though.
Yes.
That he made.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Clutch.
I mean, it was super clutch.
It was super clutch.
Argue with you,
it's a nice block as well.
Okay. The NBA came out and said it was goaltending now, so you have no argument, Devin.
Dude,
It was close. It was super close.
Yeah, but you could see it hit the backboard and then
It's not conclusive.
There's like it's 100%.
It's for sure conclusive now. I get your argument that in the game you probably don't call that because you got to be.
I thought it was a block live. I really did.
I thought it was goaltending.
I was texting my friend. Ryan.
Hater,
who's
Luke.
My friend Ryan's like the biggest LeBron hater of all time. He's like riding Jordan this whole time so hard. And every time LeBron does something, but like then he was like, that was a clean block. That was great. We saw the replay, and it was like, oh, never mind, that was a goaltend. 100%.
It was close. It was super close.
It was close.
It was
because he like flipped his hand back to like last second. So it's hard to tell.
Still a goaltend.
It's hard to tell. It's super hard to tell.
I understand your argument in lifetime, but the fact that you can even say it's a clean block now,
it's very grainy.
It's high. It's HD.
When you zoom in, it's
What
really
TV are you-
grainy.
the second that like
Watching this on
you
a
watch it, Oladipo like turns
18-inch
across.
black and white.
That's how I knew he got it to the backboard.
Flicks it back.
Devin, I think you're watching this on like an 18-inch black and white screen or something.
No,
because I watched this on my phone in like high definition, right?
I watched it on my phone.
Right.
Maybe I'm just blind.
I don't
I'm
know
not
if
sure.
I don't know if you got a flip
glasses.
phone. I don't know if you have a flip phone or something.
it's an
but
iPhone. We got it.
This like iPhone like
I'm in
7 or
21st
whatever.
century.
Like
You got that Nick Wright syndrome.
yeah, you must. At
It was
this point.
it's a nice block by LeBron. So, and by the way, and people who are complaining about that, also the possession before, whenever Young hits the ball at
Yes,
LeBron,
it
saying
was-
that's out of bounds.
Oh,
So
there was a lot of.
It goes back and
there was
forth.
a lot
Also,
of, I think,
if you do
mistake.
that, then the Cavs have the ball and Indiana gets the last shot, and you don't have to give LeBron the last shot. So the Pacers might have favored that actually got called the right way.
you know Lance Stevenson was going to want to take that shot.
The officials, like we saw him mess up on a lot of things at the end of the game because
Yeah.
we saw him mess up on the goaltend, we saw him mess up on the out of bounds, and then it eventually winded up with the Cavs winning the game. But these calls could go either way right
Yeah.
now. That's one of the hardest jobs in the world to do to
And
officiate an
Also,
NBA game.
And all
are
these
moving
calls-
screens even a thing anymore? Like, because Kyle Korver just two-hand shoves Thaddeus Young as he's going there, and
I didn't
enough
see
to
anything.
trip him up. Of course you didn't see
This
it.
guy.
Kyle Korver got to do whatever he can. Okay, he's not athletic. He's just kind of there. Okay,
No, but my
he's got a
point is,
bulldoze.
they set moving screens the whole game, so I'm not really mad about the moving screen because like that's like the whole game. Like,
yeah, it's pretty bad.
people two-hand shove people, and that's a screen now. It's like, are we gonna fix this, or are we just gonna let it go forever? It's kind of like traveling at this point.
Well, it's kind of like holding in the NFL. It's like you could call it almost on every play, but you know what? If you start calling them a little bit more, they'll stop doing it so egregiously. Where it's like, bro, you literally went from like Julius Randle in Kobe's last game, where he was just literally pulling guard, blocking people out of the way so Kobe could shoot. Like,
Yeah.
it gets pretty obvious at some point. It's like, okay, at some point we need to overcorrect this back to where it should be back in the.
But I mean, hey, I honestly, just looking at this series as a whole, I think we can all agree on that this is probably the most compelling series of the first round right now. Because,
Especially in the East, yeah.
Yeah, like this is a series where some of these games, I might not necessarily want to watch, or if there's two games on at the same time, I might be flipping over to a Reddit stream to watch the NBA TV one.
Yeah.
Like especially like even though Boston Milwaukee's going 7 games, honestly, not that compelling of a series. Whereas the Cleveland Indiana series is just, I'm sure the ratings are just the highest for this series right now.
Yeah,
LeBron
them or Utah and
versus
OKC. Those are the two
Yeah.
best
Oh, yeah.
series by far.
And really, if you look at this Cleveland-Indiana series, after the first 4 games, it could have been 3-1 either way. Because you look at Game 3, Cleveland blew a big lead, and Indiana came back. In Game 4, Indiana probably should have won that game. So it could have went 3-1 either way, and it was 2-2 going back to Cleveland, and Cleveland took care of business in Game 5.
Is Cleveland favored in round 2 if they go up against Toronto, 4 seed over the 1 seed? You think they are?
I think they'd be favored.
I think it's a slight favorite,
Yeah.
but yeah, in Vegas, I think they'll trust LeBron in the series over Toronto. I think that's the only factor you can look at, because it's definitely not Tyronn Lue
really.
No,
or
he's
anything like
bad.
that.
This
So-
would be the first coach that if LeBron got fired, I wouldn't even be mad because he's obviously not good at X's and O's. Like, it's not.
Yeah, like
his lineups are bad.
If you put like Nate McMillan, if you switch it around, put Nate McMillan on the Cavs and then throw Ty Lue on the Pacers, this series could be over already, really.
Yeah, and
I
I think
think-
you look at what this series is. Oladipo, as you said, has not played really well since the first couple of games of the series. Ever since he missed that shot in
He's
Game
shooting
2,
he's shooting like 15% or
Not great.
12% or so. I was like, what the heck?
not good.
Yeah.
Taking 14 shots to get 12 points is never a good look.
I think
Also, some of this comes on the Cavs GM too, because like when they made that trade in the middle of the year, and you're like, they got good young talent to play defense. I'm like, these guys offensively do not fit with LeBron James. Like none
don't
of them
create
are
a shot.
square jump shooters. Like Jordan Clarkson needs the ball off the dribble. Rodney Hood needs the ball off the dribble. Larry Nance cannot shoot anything.
Rodney Hood, that's another guy. Like, these names, like, you just don't even think about him. 'cause
Nance,
they're
you just throw the
they're
ball towards the
there.
rim and hope he gets it. That's the only
Yeah.
thing you do with Nance. He
And,
plays
like,
good defense.
The thing is like, yeah, Jordan Clarkson was 6-man of the year candidate. He was averaging like 15 points a game. Rodney Hood averaged 17 for Utah last year. Like, they're just not good fits. It's not that they're not talented people, and I blame Cleveland's GM 100% for that.
And then, like, I love it's even better that Dwayne Wade's going off in the playoffs. Derrick Rose is having, his best couple game stretch in like 2 years. Like and Jay Crowder doing amazing. Yeah, he had like 17 at halftime last game. Like, it's like all these guys that they traded away. Like, I still don't think if they all would have stayed together in Cleveland, I don't think in the end it would have worked because there was so much bad blood. Yeah. There, but it's just funny to see these guys like now going off in the playoffs. Man. They're just going off.
The thing is, he's so easy to play with, but he's so hard to play with. Like, it's such a mental drain on some people that I don't think you can deal with it. Like, Kyrie to me was the perfect guy to play with LeBron, and like I think they're gonna miss Kyrie in the second series, and especially if they have to go against Philly. I think that's gonna be.
LeBron has never won one without a superstar on his team.
At least, like, say when Kyrie was on the team. At least you could give it to Kyrie at the end of the shot clock, 4 seconds left on the shot clock. He could make something happen. He could find a teammate. LeBron can do the same thing, but he just doesn't have that, that same ability to necessarily get a great shot off, at the end of a shot clock or something,
He also can't do it for 48 minutes. Mm-hmm. Like, he needs someone to help him for a spurt so he can get a rest.
Yeah, it's like when he goes on the bench,
it's ugly. Yeah, it's ugly.
You might as well start crying at that point.
Because there was, I think, the beginning of the fourth quarter there in Game 5, and LeBron sat to start the fourth quarter. I'm like, how long can they keep him on the bench? He got it back in like 7.5 to go in the game, and they still had a 4-point lead. They came in with like an 8-point lead, so it's like they didn't completely screw it up. So they kind of kept it where they still had a little bit of a lead going into the final 7.5 minutes.
Yeah, when they didn't get it back to tie or take the lead, I knew Indiana lost that game already.
And then LeBron hit the clutch shot, and I was going crazy in my apartment. I apologize to my neighbors.
I think if that game goes into overtime, Indiana wins.
Yeah, they had momentum at that point.
Also, I would have loved to see LeBron take that with some pressure on him. Maybe down 2, I don't know, call it goaltending.
Oh, jeez.
Who knows what happened?
That was the most terrible defense by Thaddeus Young. Let me say that. Where's he going to go?
Yeah, because you know who they're going to give the ball to too.
He's not going to drive it to the basket with that. I don't think he would make that move. Mm-hmm. He's going to go to the left. That's where he likes to shoot.
I mean, the fadeaway through to the left side. I mean, every time.
Every single time. I called it. I told
people have like scattering reports. I mean, LeBron's been playing the league for 15 years. Like, he likes to go first of all, left wing, step back 3 to the left side, pull it. I mean, he's going to do it
every single time. No, did you guys like how he hopped up on the scores table after the game?
Because
of course, Devin.
When John Wall did that last year, it was almost kind of the same situation. He did it in Game 6. They go on to lose the series the next game. It's almost like if I could see if this was a closeout game, even if it wasn't the first round, I'm fine with it. But it's not.
I mean, I almost jumped on my coffee table.
It's not the closeout game. Yeah, all right. I guarantee the people under you in your apartment probably knocked on.
You know what?
They weren't. I don't know if they were home. I don't think so. I did apologize on Twitter. I'm sorry, Fox Alley apartment in 1216. I'm sorry.
Hey, LeBron ain't got no teammates to celebrate with. He just had to hop up there.
No, Jetty Osman's the one guy every time.
As soon as he did that, he went up there to go talk to the fans. That was it.
Yeah, made for a cool picture.
It's like you guys are about as good as these guys over here.
He really did not go to a single teammate after he made that shot. Like, he ran to the stands, yelled. People followed
when he
him.
first made it, he went to his teammates. Like, he jumped in their arms, and then he ran away and got to the fans and stuff like that. Like, after he first made it, he turned.
After he first makes it, he turns and runs to the sideline.
Like, towards his bench.
No, not towards the.
Yes, it is.
He jumped into Jetty Osman's hand.
Yeah, the first thing he did, he turned to his behind him, jumped in Jetty Osman's hand, celebrated for a second.
Who is that?
Then went to the exactly the guy from Turkey. Gobble gobble. We'll take a break. When we come back, the Western Conference series.
No one said who they have winning the game.
Well, who you have to win the series?
I have Indiana tonight, Cleveland 7.
What about you, Perry?
I got Cleveland tonight.
Noah?
God, I was hoping you. I got Cleveland tonight.
I got Cleveland tonight. I'm not gonna lie, but I got Cavs in 6. I said Cavs in 5.
I should pick Indiana, but just Cleveland. Why not?
I said Cavs in 4. So
I got LeBron James tonight.
Yeah, I got LeBron. Nobody else, just LeBron. We'll take a break.
Well, yeah, LeBron will win tonight, but I think the Pacers will win as a team.
All right, who's winning this? Who's winning the East? Luke?
Philly.
Perry?
Cleveland.
Noah?
And after the break, I'm serious though. After the break,
okay, we'll go to the Western Conference. I got LeBron winning the East again. So we'll take a break. Next, Western Conference playoffs here on the Weekend Sports Kickoff. And welcome back into the Weekend Sports Kickoff. Devin Albertson, Luke Sanders, along with Perry Randle and Noah Cooper, talking about the NBA. Just talking about the Eastern Conference now. On to the West, and we have 3 of the 4 teams in the second round. We have Houston taking care of Minnesota in 5 games. The Pelicans sweeping the Trailblazers in the 6-3 matchup, and the Warriors taking care of the Spurs in 5 games. We'll start with the series that was over the quickest, and I was the most wrong on. The Trailblazers losing and being swept by the Blazers. I had Blazers in 5 and 6. I had them in 6. Sorry, I had them in 6, and they got swept by the Pelicans. The Blazers just flat out sucked this series, and Anthony Davis and Drew Holiday just schooled the Blazers. Disappointing for me because I like Dollar Dame, and it just didn't work out.
My man Damian Lillard was drunk. I don't know what the heck was going on. No, Drew Holiday was in his cheeks, to be honest. That man was playing some first All-NBA defense. He was just in him, and Damian Lillard just couldn't figure nothing out. And that's really what they needed because C.J. McCollum didn't play that bad, in my opinion.
He was okay.
Besides game 1, I thought C.J. played pretty good. But, like you were saying, first-team All-NBA defense, he'll probably make it on second-team All-NBA defense, like, for real this season because his defense all season was, like, out of his mind. But, I mean, when you take out Damian Lillard like that, it's going to be hard when you have no one that can stop Anthony Davis.
And Nurkic got schooled.
Yeah.
Not great for the
Pelicans. It just wasn't a good matchup. We said that before the series started on Dropping Dimes. We're like, this isn't really the greatest matchup for Portland.
I didn't listen.
Well, because of a couple of reasons. It basically because, Portland had no one that could stop Anthony Davis, but New Orleans had 2 guys that at least could contain or stop Portland's best 2 players.
Yeah.
And, that's a big issue when you got that right there. Then it comes down to the role players at that point, and the role players are kind of even out for both teams. So, I did predict the Blazers to win the series, but, going back on it, I said those comments before the series started. I don't know why. I don't know why I shouldn't have picked the Pelicans to win the series because, I laid out the perfect situation for them to win, but, I'm not really super surprised that the Pelicans moved on. I'm just surprised that Damian Lillard played that bad.
The fact that they got swept.
Yeah, I didn't see a sweep coming.
Hey,
at all,
you know what? Sure. That man Rondo was playing with his 08 championship ring on his finger because that man was just playing out of his mind. I ain't seen that about a good 5 years. I was like, oh my goodness.
I wonder if this man tries that hard on every regular season game, how good he could have actually been throughout his career.
Honestly, he just needs some motivation because I did see that tweet from a couple years ago from C.J. McCollum talking about Rondo. They was like, this team will never work with a Rondo on their team. Something like that. I don't know. But Rondo, he takes that stuff to heart. And
whenever he hits a clutch 3-pointer in the corner in the game, it's like, we're done. Like, we don't have anything to do here. If Rondo's making threes, we're done.
His first game hitting 2 threes in the playoffs since 2011 or something. Get out of here.
In 2K, I actually take the guy off of Rondo to go double the other person.
That's what they try to do.
If Rondo doesn't get injured in the first round last year, the Bulls make the Eastern Conference Finals. I don't want to.
They were up 2-0 games on Boston.
2-0 on Boston.
Hold on, what's in your cup? Because you're drunk. All right,
get out of here.
And now the Bulls can't tank right, but that's another topic for the
Eastern
day.
Conference Finals.
No Bulls shirt today. No Bulls
shirt is playing the Eastern Conference. I don't want to hear it.
Anyway, so the rest of the series, I was just so disappointed in Portland in this series. Anthony Davis and Holiday were great.
I told you right here on the show on Friday to take the Pelicans because Portland cannot beat them. I picked the Pelicans in 6, and I told you exactly how it was going to happen. I actually laid it out exactly like Perry just said. They can't guard Anthony Davis. Drew Holiday's going to lock down Damian Lillard.
Hey, I'm black. He don't look like me. No, I'm playing.
That's great.
It's all great. It's all good.
But anyways, yeah, for real. I told you that they were going to win. You didn't listen to me, and then you picked Blazers in 5.
Yeah, 6.
Still.
I went back to the record. It's 6.
I think we did 6 too, didn't we?
I said Blazers in 6.
I said 6 or 7. Either way, I was like, it's gonna be a long series.
I think I would be disappointed like Devin if Damian Lillard didn't shoot a certain amount of shots. But every single game he was still taking shots. So I like that. But he just got clamped, to be honest. He was just boy.
Hey, and now Rondo. He was listening to J. Cole in his workout a couple days ago, so
KOD.
Don't expect Rondo to be averaging a 20-point triple-double next series, all right? Just don't sleep on that happening.
When they go against the Warriors? Oh.
Yep.
Oh.
Shutting down that injured Steph Curry.
What was your prediction for the series,
stepping
Luke?
on his ankle.
For the Blaze?
Yeah.
I had Pelicans in 6.
Oh. Okay, good job.
Rondo's going to be stepping on Steph Curry's ankle.
Closest one here.
Yeah, you were.
I didn't see a sweep coming at all either. I figured that Portland would at least win one of their games at home in the first part and then one in the second, but no.
Wrong.
I was wrong.
Yeah, not great there with that one. So now Golden State taking care of San Antonio in 5 games. Warriors just kind of like uninterested in Game 4, and Spurs kind of just stole a game there. But the Warriors were not ever really scared of the Spurs in this series. They knew this was going to be over sooner than later anyways. So
yeah, this was a series I called in 5. I didn't know that Popovich would be sitting out, but I just figured that, like you said, one game they'd probably be uninterested, and I feel like Popovich was going to have a plan for them, and they won that one game. But and honestly, this series was pretty boring too. I think I fell asleep a couple times in this game or this series too. So I was just like,
this was a series I was the least interested in out of all the series because I thought the Warriors would sweep them. And then after Greg Popovich's wife passed away, I thought maybe the Spurs might try to all rally behind him and play really good for one game, possibly could get a game after that, and they did. So that's that's great that they did win one of those games, but I fully expected Golden State to win this series.
Ginobili.
Yeah, Manu played really well.
They hit in Game 4. They hit some of the most BS shots I've ever seen in a
You
basketball.
mean Aldridge banking in a three?
Yeah, like he banked in the three with Draymond right in his face, and then he made this other fadeaway on the baseline. And granted, he takes fadeaways on the baseline all the time, but this fadeaway he took was like the most highest arcing fadeaway I've ever seen in my life.
Flashback to Portland, Houston, the first round a few years ago.
Like Mono does this fake Euro step fadeaway with one hand or something from 7 feet out in the lane, and I was like, that's not going in. Splash. They just hit some of those BS shots in the fourth quarter of that game.
Yeah, there's not much else to say about this series.
No,
I mean, the
the series
Warriors are so much better. It was kind of a boring
The
series.
only time this series got remotely interesting is when someone fake tweeted out that Kawhi Leonard was going to play. They got the tweet from last year.
Got me.
And then
Got me
that was
too.
going to be a really good series for the first round, but then it was fake and
Just didn't have the horses.
My favorite part of the series was after the series ended and LaMarcus Aldridge had 30 points in the last game. He went to the post-game press conference, and no one had a question to ask him. He walked in, he sat there for 10 seconds, and the guy was like, does anyone have a question for LaMarcus? And it was crickets.
Hey, but let's be honest.
And he was like, thank you.
Is there a reasonable question that you could ask him?
Yeah, but as a reporter, come on, man. Think of one question.
think of something. Think it's time worth to get to the podium at least.
And he was like, well, thank you guys.
Are you coming back next year? That's what he should ask.
Oh, so yeah, not great there for the Spurs. Let's see what happens to them in the offseason with Kawhi Leonard. But now the 1-8 matchup, Houston versus Minnesota, 5 games, and it was over Houston 4-1 in that series. Houston won a game where James Harden was 2 for 14 or something like that, and won by 20. So, and Cat finally started showing up a little bit there in the home game, so that was fun to see at least him play well. Just Minnesota couldn't get their big three to all play well at the same time, and Jimmy Butler's injury really kind of set them back in the series.
I think this series was oddly interesting and fun, to be honest.
A lot of stars on the floor.
Yeah, that one game, James Harden was off. Chris Paul still, led them to a victory with, I don't know how many points he had, but it wasn't that much. But he still led them to a victory that game. Of course, you got a lot of stars, like you said. Derrick Rose, we saw a great series from him.
Made Noah happy.
It did.
It was interesting to see Shaq just talk so bad about Cat and the way he was playing. And then I know where Cat has a pretty decent game. It was just a oddly interesting series. I thought it was going to be boring. To be honest.
I totally agree with Perry. I thought it'd be a sweep because, like the odds had said, when a team wins 65 games, I think it's happened 22 times, and the team has swept in the first round 21 out of the 22 times. So, I fully expected to sweep, and it was almost that way. But, like Perry said, we saw a new emergence of Derrick Rose, which was kind of fun to see, him play like his old self for a couple quarters. And the Houston Rockets, besides that one quarter, I didn't really think they played that great all series.
You mean that 50-point quarter?
Yeah, besides that, that one quarter, they just went all the way off. Otherwise, they didn't really play that great all series. But, it's still oddly entertaining. I had a great time watching it.
I think this series, in my opinion, shows why I feel like the Warriors are I don't want to say unquestionably favorites, but they're still the favorites, even though the Rockets had such a great season. Just because they lost that game to Minnesota, I feel like the Warriors, a healthy Warriors team, would have swept Minnesota.
And one thing they kind of look at here was Clint Capella, for pretty much the whole series, thoroughly outplayed Cat, and you just can't happen if you're Minnesota to win that series. I know Luke and I talked about this before the series started and going back in the regular season and what the matchup would been. And Capella had played pretty well in the regular season against him as well, and just kind of continued that. And it's a lot easier for Capella if you can just kind of get the ball at the rim and just dunk it there every time because Harden and Chris Paul are so good. But even defensively, D'ing up on Cat, he did a really nice job this series. So he needs definitely a shout out in this series with Clint Capella.
Yeah, I had Houston winning in 6. I did not have Minnesota winning, but I thought that they would go a couple extra games. I thought Jimmy Butler would lock down Harden better than he did. I thought it would be a couple of game twos But I didn't think that the Rockets could win if James Harden goes 2 for 18. So their bench was just way too good for Minnesota to compete with, too, even when the Stars didn't play well.
When Harden's on, it's like he's so unstoppable. You know he's going to do that fake old step back that he always takes for three. And, like, Jimmy and Rose a couple times and Teague, they were just all up in his grill while he was taking that. You know, it's still splashed more often than not. So it's such a hard man to stop.
And this is the one series that I said Rockets in 5 before the series started, so I nailed this one. I said Warriors in 6, and went 5. I said Blazers in 6, and went the other way for 4.
If you're Minnesota, do you start moving some pieces around?
I feel like you just got to get pieces to begin with.
The only thing I would move is Wiggins, and I don't think you're going to be able to.
I don't think any team's going to want to take on that contract, you know.
Yeah, so I think that they're kind of stuck.
And
I think they just need to get a little bit older with the 2 stars, with Cat and Wiggins and Butler get healthy, and I think they'll be better for next year.
Like Wiggins, like, he didn't play great in the regular season. He shot really bad, but he was arguably like the best player on the court for the Timberwolves, really. You know, like, Towns didn't really play that well.
He scores the most quiet 20 points you'll ever see.
Yeah.
Like, he'll score 20 points, like, oh, I guess he has 20. I really haven't even noticed him this entire game, but he has 20 points on the board. So it's just a really weird thing that he has. Same thing kind of happened with DeRozan there for a while in Toronto, where he would score 25. It's like, I didn't even realize DeRozan's really been in this game, made an impact, but he has 25 points. Like, he just scores a quiet 25 points. It's weird.
And for a super athletic guy, too, like Wiggins, he doesn't really play the greatest defense as well.
42-inch vertical.
Yeah, which is another concern that I have with Wiggins, and that's another reason that, like, I wouldn't see anyone really going after Wiggins. But I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, Tom Thibodeau and the Tibbs, they really try to shop him in the offseason.
Definitely interesting to see what happens there with Minnesota coming this offseason. In the final series in the West, it's not over yet. It's been the most entertaining one so far. Oklahoma City versus the Utah Jazz, the 4-5 matchup. And the Jazz, the 5 seed, have a 3-2 lead heading back home for Game 6 tonight. It's been a rough and physical series, too. It's been fun to watch this series back and forth. Joe Ingles talking trash to Paul George, and it's been so much fun. It's great. I love Joe Ingles. It gives me hope. What do you guys think of this series so far with Donovan Mitchell versus Westbrook and Carmelo Anthony just kind of there, not doing a whole lot?
It has confirmed everything I've said about the Thunder for the entire year. And I had Jazz in 6, so if they win tonight, you're gonna have to book me down as being right. But
I said Thunder in 7. I'm changing to Jazz in 6 now. I think it's over.
Yeah, I think they're gonna win tonight too. I thought that if it goes back to OKC, I think OKC will win at home. I don't trust Russell Westbrook in the fourth quarter. I don't trust Carmelo Anthony at all
on the floor.
No, like, he's just not good anymore. And Paul George, like, he just doesn't get he's an ISO player, and he doesn't get the opportunity to do that enough.
He played well in Game 1, and that's about it.
Well, he played really well in Game 5.
Game 5, yeah. He played well in the comeback.
34 points.
Okay, sorry. He played well in Game 1 and played well in the comeback in Game 5.
Yeah.
Sorry. He played really bad in the middle 3 games. So they lost.
I mean, he still averaged, like, 20 points, so... It doesn't seem like he's playing well because Russell Westbrook has the ball the whole time and no one else gets any. Like, he takes all the criticism and all the praise.
Their late game offense is so bad because it's nothing really ran. It's just like, hey, you ISO this time. Now me ISO.
I feel like it's like that the entire game, really, when you watch Oklahoma City.
That's why they need the performances like they had in the comeback to win games.
We talked about it in Dropping Dimes, I guess, before the series started. I said that Utah's the better team overall, but OKC's got the best 2 players on the court, and in the playoffs, I feel like you tend to rely on, if they got 2 superstars, they're probably going to win the series at that point, but it seems like those 2 superstars, they haven't really shown up for OKC in the way they need to win. And Donovan Mitchell has probably played better than both Russell Westbrook and Paul George in this series.
Ricky Rubio, baby.
Yeah, Ricky Rubio is, besides that comeback, he's honestly almost outplayed Russell Westbrook half the game, especially in the fourth quarter shooting wise. So that's something from him I didn't see coming. I didn't see Joe Ingles shooting quite this well in the playoffs because he had shot this well in the regular season, but it's hard to sustain that all the way through the playoffs. But I said, Utah is the better overall team. I'm not going to be super surprised if they win. It's just that, I didn't expect Oklahoma City Stars to completely shut down like this.
I think, and I know a lot of people already have him gone. I think if you want to keep Paul George this summer, you got to fire Billy Donovan, to be honest.
I think he's going either way.
You got to fire Billy Donovan either way.
Yeah, he's a great college coach, not a good NBA coach. And this is something we've heard about for a few years now, whether it's been reported from Durant or other players, but we've heard it for a while now. Like, Billy Donovan's really not the greatest NBA coach.
It doesn't look like he's calling any plays at all. Honestly, it looks like those Russell Westbrook, Carmelo Anthony, and Paul George out there playing rec basketball like it's the summer. summer. Like they look like Hoodie Mello is coming up the court, just shooting a shot.
But except Hoodie
This
Mello.
isn't the Hoodie Mello I
like
ordered.
35 years
Right.
older.
It's
He
a
can't
knockoff.
hit a shot. I said it last week on the Weekend
The
Sports
sweater
Kickoff.
mellow.
I was like, it was like game 2 or 3 had happened at that point. I think game 2, and I was like, and I texted Perry this right away. I was like, watching that fourth quarter, I think Melo was the worst player on the court for Oklahoma City. And I was like, I've seen that a couple times in the regular season, but in the playoffs, I expected, Melo
And Corey
to show
Brewer
up
was on the
again.
floor. I mean,
Yeah. I was like,
not great.
I was like, what's going on from Melo right here? And it's only gotten worse ever since that game 2.
Yet he's just like, I think it's mostly in his head because obviously the dude's still super talented. Like, he can shoot. He just doesn't get the ball enough to be a one guy, and he's a one guy in his head. So when he's not the one guy on the court, I still don't think he can perform.
Mm-hmm.
And also, Joe Ingles' shooting percentage, Carmelo is guarding him. So that's one of the reasons it's easy to sustain.
because you
such
got to
a high
put Paul
shooting
George on Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah, like what a coincidence when Carmelo leaves, then Oklahoma City goes on like a 25-0 run after
I think
that.
the only way they can win this series is if they start one of those other guys tonight, either Grant or Abrines, and bring Melo off the bench, but they won't do it.
Yeah, they probably won't do it. And Rubio's been playing really well. What was it, game 2 or 3? It was game 3 that he went off.
Yeah.
Had triple-double and everything. That wouldn't happen there. Then Westbrook came out and said, I'm going to take it. That's not going to happen anymore. And it says some expletives that we can't say on FCC radio. And then he
He's gonna
came
shut
out.
that off.
And then he got 4 fouls in the first half. And Mitt Romney was giving him the business from the stands and from his jersey over his shirt. That was great.
It was like a custom jersey too, like a custom Mitt Romney.
This has really been a crazy series. That's crazy.
crazy
Mitt Romney.
Mitt Romney's even involved.
Mitt Romney trash talking Westbrook with a jersey over his dress shirt.
That game. That game
Wow.
was such a blowout, right? And normally, I wouldn't even care at that point. But the entire time, I was like, "There's gonna be a fight. I have to keep watching because there's gonna be a fight."
I
at
mean,
the end of
Steven
this
Adams
game.
takes a elbow off the face and doesn't flinch
A
because
man of
he's
steel. Oh my God! I said that tickled.
like a massive MMA fighter that no one
Someone
wants to mess
touch me.
with. Like he's like the little like bouncer you'll see in movies. Like he's just a giant guy comes up and you hit him and you just like your hand breaks. Like I don't know what else you want to do there. So
I have an interesting question though. For Russell Westbrook's performance the other night compared to
bring this up.
LeBron James' performance, who had the more impressive performance?
LeBron. I mean, LeBron took 24 shots, got the 44 points. Westbrook took 39 shots. 39.
I think LeBron had the most impressive
You're
performance.
excluded from this question.
I
Yeah,
think-
'cause you know what I'm talking about with the shots. Takes me points, 50 to get 60. Just not impressive.
Individual performance, it's different because I expect it from LeBron.
Yeah, one's efficient.
I was
one's
more
erratic.
impressed from Westbrook because I didn't expect him to have the fight to come back like that.
Also, gonna have the fight. I mean, he's going 110% every possession. Anyways, I'm not
Okay,
saying.
I'm not expecting him to make threes though. He was making threes.
He takes 39 shots. He's gonna score 40 points. I mean, 45. It's great.
He's taking
but
a lot of points, a lot of shots the whole rest of the series, and not a lot has happened. So. I was more impressed by Westbrook, but LeBron's performance was better.
Yeah, like I texted Perry, like midway through the Cavs game. I said, I think this is one of the most impressive games I've ever seen out of LeBron in terms of really driving to the basket, doing it all for his team, really trying to will his team to a victory. He didn't play that great in the fourth quarter. He hit that game winner, but it kind of fell apart for the Cavs. But I think LeBron overall had the better performance.
I don't think he's been that impressive in my opinion. Like I said earlier, I just feel like he's the only option. So
Yeah, that's also
if
true.
he's deferring to somebody, he's a lot different.
And that's the thing. He's the only option. He's still shooting 55% from the field. In that
Okay,
game, he was ridiculously efficient. I know it was driving the lane, but he's also getting hammered about 70% of the time he goes to the lane. The other 30%, he's pushing off the guy and getting an open layup. I will concede that point. I remember tweeting out, I was like,
My point is
he's
if
been
you're-
hammered back-to-back times, and then he just threw Bogdanovich to the floor and scored there. So I'm going to let that one slide because that was pretty bad. So
My point is, if you're bigger, stronger, and faster than everybody on the court, you should get a layup every time if they're not going to double team you.
and you should get hit in the head, no foul being called. It's great. So
Okay, both teams fouled the
They
entire
didn't call
game
the
and called
goaltend
nothing.
either. We're even.
They literally called nothing the entire game. That was bad officiating the whole time.
I think LeBron had the better performance.
Honestly, I got. It's hard because
It's close though.
I mean, Westbrook had those 15 rebounds at a guard, which you want so badly. I say
I
sarcastically.
got Westbrook, to be honest, just because they were down by 25.
It was a very
that's
Kobe-like
crazy.
performance.
Yeah.
Is why I see why you take it.
No.
Yeah,
No.
it was.
It was
And he's
Kobe-like.
deferring to Paul George. I think that's why. If he didn't
Took
have
39
anybody,
shots.
I mean, he started off bad and then he became efficient like the entire second half. So take that into account.
When you
Right.
and you can't expect I think when they started going on that run, like they had only had like 4 points from the rest of their team, like the entire rest of the game after they fell down by 25. Aside from Paul George and Russell Westbrook, only 4 points were made by like other players, like 4 or 6 points. It was by like Abrinas and Adams, and that was it. So you can't expect Russell Westbrook and Paul George to literally make that many shots every single game. That's why I probably have the Jazz winning tonight. I don't think that sustainability is possible.
And OKC wanted that game so bad. Like you're playing your back against the wall down by 25 on the road. Like at home, what else are you gonna do?
They were down. I think they were down by like 22 or 23. I took a shower because I was like, they're not going to win this game. And then I drive to my girlfriend's house. I open up my phone and I see the game's tied at 78. I had to reload the page like multiple times. I was like, this is fake.
That
like,
is insane.
The app is messing up.
I did the same thing whenever I missed the very beginning of the Nova Kansas game when Nova was hitting all those threes.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is not right.
Yeah.
I know.
And then I pulled up the Reddit stream and I was like, this is fake. I gotta look at this.
This has gotta be
I was like,
fake,
oh
yeah.
my god!
But
It's
do
really
you know how
78,
insane that is? 71 to 46, and then it's 78 to 78.
And it was in
that is a run.
It was in 7 minutes.
It was a
too,
great
like-
run.
That's
Great
what happens
run.
when Russell Westbrook can make threes. He's unguardable.
I personally think that Oklahoma City should run a pick and roll with Westbrook on every single play. I don't even care, every single play. Because when like Rudy Gobert, for example, goes under the screen, Russell Westbrook just takes a three-pointer or that 15-footer that you're so accustomed to seeing him take. When they go over the screen and there's a hard hedge on the play, it's the alley-oop to Steven Adams or whoever's setting the pick and roll is almost always there every single time.
The only problem is
if
I'm a defense, I'm letting him take that three all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Can we get Steven Adams some more shots? We
Near
get him
the
the
rim.
ball more. Just, I mean, he's so good.
The issue is he can't really do much outside of 5-6 feet from the basket.
He's kind
So
of
you
offensively challenged, Devin.
I don't care. I want him the ball. I want him the ball
You got
more.
to set him up off a pick and roll.
Okay, it's fine to run it
stuff
more,
work
but
out.
like that's what I'm saying.
They run
it
a
more
pick and
for
roll every play with Russell Westbrook. I don't want you.
I think
Watch the beginning of the
he needs to get the
possession.
ball to the Adams more off the screen roll. Is what I'm saying.
Well, he shoots it. He can't.
Exactly.
Pass
That's
it.
what I'm
He doesn't know how that
saying.
is. He
I'm
doesn't
just
know
saying he
what
needs to get Adams the ball more.
I got OKC in 7.
Okay, I got Jazz in 6. And Joe Ingles, I
I
trust.
got Jazz in 6.
I think but if they win tonight, I think they do win 7. I don't think Jazz will go to
Oklahoma
OKC.
City?
Yeah.
Because just OKC plays so good when they're motivated. It's crazy. But it's like when they're down by 25, Russell Westbrook plays out his mind. Paul George hitting every single shot. It's crazy. So I got them winning tonight.
Yeah, OKC's top is definitely so much higher than Utah Jazz's top, but I think the Jazz are just too consistent and playing at home in front of that crowd when you have the amount
Romney?
of scores they have.
When you got Mitt Romney.
You got Mitt Romney, you're not going to lose.
That's like a 5-point swing.
I mean, Philly has Meek Mill. They had Mitt Romney, so it all works out. So.
Also, I think Utah has a much better matchup with Houston than OKC does.
Because I think they could be more consistent.
I don't think they
defensively.
have anybody to guard James Harden. I think that's the problem.
I think Utah.
I think you go 5 or 6.
I think Utah's like the
max.
4th or 5th best team in the league. If we're
Go
just being
ahead.
straight up
Go
right
ahead.
now.
Name top 5. Go ahead.
Golden State, Houston.
Please don't put Cleveland in there.
No, I'm not going to.
And
Gosh,
3's up for debate. I mean, you have Philly,
three-
Utah, New Orleans.
I think it's between
Toronto?
Philly, Utah, New Orleans, and Toronto. Yeah, those teams that you mentioned.
Hold on. Which New Orleans? The Marcus Cousins?
The playoffs New
Oh.
Orleans that we've seen from them. Like this team right now.
The better one.
You got to throw Utah in that. I almost don't see how you could throw OKC in that. In that conversation. Just based off a team aspect. You're relying on Russell Westbrook and Paul George to play out of their minds every night. Everyone on Utah doesn't necessarily have to play out of their minds for them to win the game. But another thing we didn't talk about that I kind of want to touch on is Rudy Gobert. As soon as they went up 25, he picked up his 4th foul, and he left the game
on a phantom foul.
Yeah, on a complete phantom foul, which was something that I was a little bit concerned about from the league. Like maybe they're gonna officiate this.
I mean,
game
he was as close
to
to me and you are right now from fouling that guy, and they called it a foul. I
was like, maybe the league might officiate this game a little bit in Oklahoma City's favor, to try to have this, series go a little bit longer. And, there's no excuses because they were up 25, but I think Rudy Gobert being out was, a big key for them to come
He
back.
really affects Russell Westbrook because you can't get to the rim because he's the Eiffel Tower. I mean, he's just a ginormous human being. He's a really good shot blocker. It makes it really difficult for a guy like Westbrook to get. As good as Westbrook is finishing at the rim, we have a guy who's 7'1", 7'2", and that good of a shot blocker. It makes your job a lot harder. So definitely a fun matchup in this series. It's been a fun one. Been really physical back and forth, which I really enjoyed. And them John at each other is always fun. Joe Ingles hitting the 3, and then John at Paul George is just so good. It's just so much fun. And Westbrook going after Rubio, taking him full court for some reason that makes no sense to me. Just wants to prove a point. It's Ricky Rubio, bro. I don't know what you're trying to prove here.
15 that game.
And I'm like, Rubio's not a great shooter. So
Sports Center tweeted out like Russell Westbrook won, and I was like, hold up, the Jazz won the game, and Rubio still did pretty well. Like, what part of this did Westbrook win?
He got those 4 first half fouls. Okay, so he played harder on him. So I don't know. So. Who you guys have win the West still? Has it changed? You guys start the playoffs or
nope?
So who's everybody having?
Golden State.
Golden State.
I think Golden State takes Houston down in 7. I think it's gonna be a really fun series though. I think it goes 7.
That's bold. That's bold. I got Golden State if Steph's healthy in 5. Like Houston has nothing for them.
100% healthy Steph. I'd probably say 5 too. But at this point,
6.
We haven't seen how healthy Steph is, so I'd say 6 at this point. But if he comes back in this New Orleans series and they go and sweep New Orleans and they're playing just as good as they were against Portland, then I'd say 5. But
I think Steph comes back in the New Orleans series. I think New Orleans takes a game or 2 from him because Anthony Davis is good enough and Drew Holiday. They're good enough defensively with Anthony Davis on the other end to give him enough troubles this time around to get 1 or 2 games out of him. 2 max. 1 for
Who
sure.
Who guards Kevin Durant defensively?
Who guards Anthony Davis? That's what
Kevin Durant.
I don't think he's going to be able
to Draymond on him, and
I think you got to put Kevin Durant on Anthony Davis. Like they're probably going to start with JaVale McGee. Like that's who it's going to be.
You got to put the defensive
You
player
gotta
of
put
the year,
Zaza in,
Draymond
right?
Green, on him.
No, you got to put Zaza in. That's the only way to win.
only for the Pelicans to win. So I think New Orleans could do a game or 2, especially if Steph's not there. It makes a difference.
Yeah, there's a chance that Steph plays in game 1. I wouldn't do it if I was Golden State. I would let him rest again.
I would wait for the first 2 home
honestly,
games.
I think Jazz have a better chance of beating Houston than Houston has of beating Golden State.
Than New Orleans does beating Golden State. Yeah.
No,
The
the Jazz
could
have a better chance of beating Houston than Houston has of beating Golden State. I said exactly what I meant.
Okay, never mind. I get what you're saying now. I get what you're saying.
I don't trust Houston. Like if James Harden goes 2 for 18 against Utah,
That's my guy, man.
if James Harden goes 2 for 18 against Utah, they don't win the game.
They have 3 guys who have a lot of playoff success, and Harden, Paul, and
Hold
D'Antoni.
on. That's what I was trying to get to. The crazy thing is, we've never seen Chris Paul in the conference finals, and weirdly enough, he plays really. His play goes down a little bit whenever he gets further into the playoffs. We expect less because he starts his emotion starts to get in the way. James Harden starts to sometimes doesn't even take shots.
Game 6 of San Antonio is hard to get out of your mind.
Chris Paul's such a great half-court player that you'd assume in the playoffs his game would elevate compared to the regular season because he's so great in the half-court setting. But in the playoffs, we've never really seen it elevate that much. And we've also, the Clippers, they've gone up against a lot of tough people in the playoffs before. They should have beat Houston that one series.
Yeah, they blew that.
Ago. Yeah, they completely blew that. So that's
beat OKC.
Definitely a knock on Paul. I don't know. That OKC team was
They
dang
was up
good.
3-1.
Yeah, that
And then
OKC team
injuries
was still
happened.
dang
And then
good,
injuries
though.
happened to him and Griffin that really kind of fell off the rails. So interesting stuff could happen there.
Also, Utah has that big guy that can take out Capella, so
That could be interesting there with that and him guarding the lane as well as possible. So that could be interesting. The only reason I had New Orleans winning 2 games is because I so undervalued them in the first game.
Wow.
In the first series, I undervalued them so much. I might be overcorrecting a little bit, but it's fine.
No, Devin, you never do that.
I got him winning 1.
2 max. 2 is
If
max.
Steph plays game 1, sweep. If Steph doesn't play game 1, I think that they'll win in 5.
I got them winning the first one in New Orleans.
Perry's been on record saying that Steph usually plays good the first game he comes back from an injury. Like he usually plays out of his mind.
The craziest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, so don't sleep
It's
on
like he's never been hurt.
Don't sleep on Steph coming back and putting up like 40 in the first game.
The only thing is he will be guarded by Drew Holiday, who's a really good defender.
He's a very good defender.
And
That's the thing.
Steph really hasn't played like that much in a long time because when he came back against that in that Atlanta game, he was already sitting out for like a month at that point. So he really hasn't played basketball in like 2.5, 3 months at this point in like an actual full game. So it's going to be tough coming right into the playoffs like that.
And I think the thing that I would say to what you just said about Drew Holiday guarding Steph Curry, they play a lot different offense than Portland Trailblazers.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
A lot of off-ball screens, so it's never really Drew Holiday just sitting there guarding him. It's going to be a lot of other stuff going on. So that's why I feel like Steph Curry is really the X factor, just like all you guys do. Is really the X factor in the series. But like I said, I got the Pelicans winning that first one in New Orleans, but I probably got the Warriors in 5.
All right, so definitely interesting to see how that series pans out. And, of course, OKC and Utah tonight in Game 6 in Utah. Also, Cleveland at Indiana for Game 6 and Toronto at Washington for Game 6. Washington series will be in ESPN News. The other two on ESPN. The Cavs game starts at 7. The Utah-OKC game will follow at 9:30. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll give our final thoughts of what we're going to watch this weekend. One stat as we go out here, though. LeBron's receiving less help than he ever has in a playoff series ever. Literally, Kevin Love's currently ranked second on the team with a game score of 7.7. That would be the worst by any second fiddle to any LeBron in his 42 playoff series since the 2006 conference semifinals when Ilgauskas had a score of 7.9. It was the next lowest. That was a long time ago. So I just want to put that stat out there. For that, we'll take a break. Come back next here on the Weekend Sports Kickoff. And we are back on the Weekend Sports Kickoff for the final segment of the Spring 2018 semester here on the show. My final semester on KZLX ever. Luke's final show as well. As this is kind of a Friday Take WSK crossover. We didn't do our morning show because we knew we were going to do 3 hours of radio this afternoon and decided not to get up early on finals week. Sounds like a great plan. So we got the final segment of the day today. We've talked about the NFL draft, first-round quarterbacks and trades, guys we like, guys we didn't like, who the Chiefs should look at in the later rounds, the NBA playoffs with the Eastern and Western Conference breakdowns, as we brought in Noah and Perry for that. We also had Luke Peterson on earlier for all the NBA, NFL stuff. So a fun show today in our final segment. One of my favorite times of the year because you have the NFL draft going on plus the NBA playoffs, two things I really enjoy. So a lot for me to watch on the television tonight because I'm going to have to bounce back and forth between the draft and LeBron playing Indiana tonight. So that's what I'll probably be doing. And then tomorrow, the draft starts at, I think, 11 o'clock in the morning for the 4 through 7. And, of course, I graduate tomorrow at 2 o'clock, so I'll be doing that as well. So what about you, Noah? What are you going to do this weekend? Kind of what are you watching this weekend in sports?
This is now the 20th year of my life where I haven't watched the NFL draft.
It's a sad 20 years.
Yeah, honestly, I've never really cared that much about the NFL draft. But I'll be watching a lot of NBA playoffs this weekend. I'm sure I'll be trying to catch about every game. Driving home tonight, I might miss a little bit. Is Cleveland the earlier game tonight?
Yeah, they're at 7. Yeah.
So I'll probably miss a little bit of that, maybe about like a half hour or so. But definitely be watching that tonight and all weekend. So we'll see my work schedule coming up here. But hopefully I'll be watching a lot of basketball.
Game 7 Milwaukee Boston tomorrow and Game 1 of New Orleans versus Golden State. So you have
tough.
A new Game 1 at TNT at 7 and 9:30 for those two games. So it should be a fun weekend of NBA basketball. How about you, Perry?
Yesterday was actually the first time I ever watched the NFL draft. I was really rooting for Barkley to go number 1, but the reports really, made me think that Mayfield was going number 1, which he did. So first time watching that, and that was kind of cool. And then just good basketball game yesterday in Milwaukee and Boston. So tonight, you know what I'm on. I got straight basketball tonight, tomorrow, until June. So, but honestly, I'm really excited for Pelicans and Golden State tomorrow. But at the same time, this has probably been the best year of basketball, like playoff basketball in a while, in my opinion. I feel like every year we know who's coming out. We always knew the Heat was coming out against probably the Spurs, but this year we don't know. So we just sitting back and relaxing, eating the popcorn, and I just can't wait for the rest of these playoffs to unfold. But y'all know what I'm on. So
we have a pretty good idea who's coming out, but we don't know for sure what we have in the past. So we have a pretty good, it's these 3 or 4, especially in the West. It's a couple teams here. The East is a little more open than usual.
I think there's 3 teams in the East and 2 in the West.
Utah versus Indiana in the finals. That's what we're on.
Don't you have the Cavs win tonight?
Yeah, but
you never know.
You never know.
He's like, if Indy wins tonight, they're going to the finals.
They might call a goaltender or something. You never know.
Nah, let's pass on those calls. Luke?
I'll be watching the draft tonight. We got enough TVs. I'll be watching some playoff basketball too. Probably playing some Fortnite. Yeah, you bet. But I'll be a busy man. I'll probably watch more of the draft tomorrow too. I'm all on that draft flow. I love it. It's probably my favorite thing. I'll be watching basketball too. I'm interested to watch the Jazz take out Houston. I'll say right here on radio, since we don't have another show, that the Jazz will beat the Houston Rockets in a series.
Ooh,
yep.
7 games?
I'll go ahead
6?
and call it out. 7.
7?
Yeah. And so, I'll be watching the NBA playoffs, though, like everyone else said. That's about it.
Well, I'll be watching the NFL draft I said earlier tonight. It starts at 6 o'clock, and then, of course, the NBA games will be on at 6, 7, and I think 9:30. So I'll be flipping through those games to kind of see what's going on there. And then, of course, tomorrow, tomorrow night, maybe catch a little bit of the NBA games. I'll be celebrating graduation, so I'm not sure exactly how much of the NBA games I'll see. I'll be watching the NFL draft tonight and tomorrow. I might have my phone on during the graduation ceremony, kind of keep up with the draft.
You bet I'll be watching the draft picks during the ceremony.
I'll be walking across the stage like, hey, the Chiefs just took this guy. This is great.
I'll have it pulled up on my phone. It'll be my grad pick forever. I love it.
There you go. So it should be very entertaining tomorrow. 2 o'clock graduation ceremony should be a lot of fun when that kind of goes down. So I'm really looking forward to that. And just watching the NBA.
No NHL playoffs for many of us.
I'm a big Vegas.
NASCAR? There's some big NASCAR races coming up.
Hey, I've been a fan of the Vegas Knights for years. Okay, I'm not. I always kind of check to see who's going on, but I really don't watch any of those games because I can't watch hockey.
I watch the playoffs when the Blackhawks are in it, and they're not. So there's not much NHL to watch this year for me.
I'm just not Canadian, so I don't watch the NHL.
In my opinion, the hockey doesn't start until the playoffs start, and that's only if the Blackhawks are in the playoffs. So the hockey just it's just a bye year for hockey, in my opinion.
Yeah, so not a whole lot of hockey for me.
I'll just watch the highlights of all the cool stuff that happens, and that's good enough for me.
Did you see they had the NHL to one of the players, Markin? He told they're like, stop licking other players. Like, I didn't know this was gonna be a problem. You have an NHL player licking other guys. Like, I don't know why this is even an issue, but apparently it is. So if he could stop, it's a Bruins star. His player is licking other players.
Yeah. Also, the other thing I know is that the Capitals are like the Toronto of hockey, so they just choke away everything. So
the league would prefer that Boston Bruins star would refrain from licking, nuzzling, or cuddling his opponents. It's just so weird of the NHL. Right. Like of all the leagues, the National Hockey League is just like stop fighting. No, just stop licking the dude. Okay. So definitely entertaining to see kind of what's going on with the extracurricular there with hockey. I just don't understand the sport enough to really get into it. Baseball, I always kind of keep up with what the Cardinals are doing. The Royals are just awful right now. So Tankapalooza, starting in April. So that's about it there. As the Royals are at a nice and great 5-18 on the year.
I thought Ned said we were 5-20. What the heck?
He has no idea what's going on. But yeah, the Cardinals are leading in NL Central like the world should be right now. So it's always fun to see how that's going there with St. Louis. But other than that, just a lot of NFL and NBA tonight. See who the Chiefs take in the second and third round. See if they make some moves up and down.
D-back. Sorry.
You want a defensive back. We know. The first hour and a half was pretty obvious that you wanted a defensive back. A little bit of NFL news. The Chargers are not re-signing Antonio Gates, their star tight end, Hall of Fame tight end, and Jason Witten may retire from the Dallas Cowboys to take the Monday Night Football analyst jobs. So a couple of tight ends who are Hall of Fame worthy are not going to be with their teams next year. So a lot of interesting things happening in the NFL. Also, Michigan. New quarterback Shea Peterson is now ruled eligible to play for Michigan this upcoming season. So kind of what's happening in college football. Luke, does your quarterback Tanner Lee get drafted?
Yeah, he'll go in the 5th or 6th round. He's got all the arm talent in the world. He'll get drafted.
He got all the interceptions too.
He does.
There was a tweet I saw last night. It said if I wanted to watch a team have 32 picks in 3+ hours, I watched Nebraska football on Saturday.
Yes.
So the draft does take forever, but I enjoy every second of it because I'm just kind of a draft nerd. So It happens. But that's going to be it for our show. Thank everybody for listening throughout my time here. It's my final show. Signing off for the final time. Make sure next semester, tune in to Dropping Dimes. Noah and Perry, they have a great show. Best new show we had here. Sorry, good old wrestling, but Dropping Dimes is better because they talk about real sports.
Shots fired.
I think Austin Hall's taking over Friday Take next year. I think he's going to have co-host with him there as well. WSK should be okay next year with Trevor and Ryan holding the fort down. Go wrestling. You can tune in that if you want to on Sundays. So should be a lot of fun stuff next semester. A lot of good stuff happening here at X106. So good luck to all the guys here. And we are done for the final time here in the spring semester of 2018 here on the weekend Sports Kickoff on KZLX LP Maryville.